A lot has changed overnight, but Buick and GMC's commitment to you remains the same. We understand you want to feel safe, so we're offering current owners complimentary OnStar Crisis Assist services. Should you need a vehicle, we're offering 0% financing for up to 84 months with deferred payment options for 120 days. Plus, you may have the option to shop online and take delivery at home. Visit our websites for the help you need.
Visit AutoSpot GMC today.
Hello, my name is Mark Berry. I'm a 4-year Air Force veteran and close to 20 years of DoD fire service. Last year, June of 2019, we happened to have one of the hardest parts of our lives happen. We had a medical with me, ended up with massive hemoptysis. And during that time, while I was in the medically induced coma, my wife frantically looked for help. She found the congressman's office, which responded extremely quickly. They found out that I was improperly coded in the VA and quickly helped to fix it, which allowed me to get a medical flight to UCLA and get the medical treatment I needed, and that's why I'm here today.
I just want to say to anyone out there, if you have any federal issues, please visit your congressman's office to see what resources are available.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the Office of Congressman Michael F.Q. San Nicolas.
Funerals actually take a lot more planning than I expected. With us using Island Cuisine for the first time, of course we were iffy, but once they came and showed us their service, their food, tasted their food and everything, we definitely used them again because their service and food is just awesome.
After Guam, si Rod's Gimpap introducing the 2020 Toyota Tacoma Access Cap T-Max. Este na mês, gasto mo yung promo ng United Airlines, $1,000 United vouchers. After nananga, sabik sa sating mamanono si Tacoma, Guam, Tacoma territory. Text si Rod's ginagi Atkins Pro Toyota, 671-788-2584. Alam bro, go si Rod's, sinanagan sa 671-788-2584. After nananga, let's go places.
With many accolades and celebrations.
Good morning. How are you to find out today? I'm Troy Torres for Kandit News. Johnny Rosario is on her way. When you hear the dogs barking, that's Johnny parking outside. I'm walking in with our food from Foodies. She's probably bringing coffee, right? This is leftover coffee. And she'll want it like a freshly brewed pot. We'll probably make a freshly brewed pot at some point today. We are waiting for the Guam legislature to go into session, but before they do, they're just assembling. I talked to a couple of the senators, and they said that some of the senators are running late. This is normally how it happens. They plan session at a certain time, and then they'll start their session maybe like within half an hour to an hour of whenever the call to session is. I understand that the speaker already is at the legislative session hall. A few other senators are there, and we know this because Ken Leon Guerrero is at a protest that was organized by, I don't know if Ken organized it or if Ray Gibson, my cousin, on The Point, and his show is still going on till 10 in the morning every weekday on 93.3 FM. One of them organized this, and it was this past weekend, but let's see, we can't get Cousin Ray on the phone, but let's see if we can get Ken Leon Guerrero on the phone. And yes, since everyone's on a staycation from, Corona, right. We are playing the shot game. Now, it's not going to be the amendment shot game, though if you are a professional drunkard, you are welcome to play that. That's the harder one. Hi, Ken. This is Troy. Hello?
Hey.
Hi, Ken. Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. You're on live with Kandit Land. We're just interested in knowing how the protest is going and whether you were able to speak with any senators.
There's a protester walking around the legislature carrying a sign, and the senators all are coming in the back door. I did get a chance to talk to Tina, and it was real interesting watching Senator Lee. As soon as she saw me, she ran the other direction, came to the back door. But I did talk to a number of senators. I'll call in.
Okay.
We got one more coming up, so I'm getting ready to cover them. Then I'll call in after this other senator and give you a recap of where we are so far.
Awesome. Thank you, Ken.
All right. I'll talk to you in a few.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So Ken Leon Girl is going to call us back when he says he's got his eye on a senator and trying to get whoever senator that is, their attention so that he can talk to them. What he's trying to do is convince the legislature of what we're trying to do, and that is to not pass the Dictator Act. The Dictator Act is Bill 334. There's also a Curfew Act, Bill 335. I wasn't really aware of it until this weekend when people were talking about this whole thing. I thought that everything was included in Bill 334. But there are apparently dictator bills, Bills 334 and 335. 335 is grants the governor the power to do a curfew. Now, governors throughout the nation, see, we're not unique here in Guam. Governors throughout the nation are coming under fire for, well, basically breaking the Constitution, for suppressing civil rights unilaterally or sometimes with the complicity of their legislatures, and turning off certain rights in the name of fighting the coronavirus issue in their states. Guam is no exception, except that the measures that the Guam governor wants to put into place are more draconian than in other states. Oh, there's Ken. Hi, Ken. So what's going on?
Can you hear me, Elsie?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, most of the senators are in now, so we've had a chance to talk to a number of the senators, and it seems like there are more senators now that will be in opposition to the more extreme measure of 335, which is the fines and citations for the executive orders.
Okay.
So I talked with Senator Barnes. I tried to see if she was going to be willing to reconsider taking the closing session without acting on these bills or removing the bills from the floor. She said she would talk to the members and see where the members wanted to go with this.
Wow.
I didn't get a chance to talk to Senator Lee because as soon as she saw me, she ran the other direction.
Okay. Well, she has a whole other measure, which is a local program, and I was surprised that she didn't pull that bill from the floor, but she sent it to the back of the agenda. 340, yeah. And I have financial concerns, but at the same time, it seemed to be.
Let me call you back. I got
Sure.
another senator.
Okay, got it. All right, so senators are filing into the session hall. Ken Leongro just told us he spoke with Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes, who sounds like she's considering either pulling the bill from the agenda or amending the heck out of it. So we'll see where this goes. The senators are on part of the agenda. I believe they might be on the trash bill. That might be. Was that the next one? Do you remember? The trash bill? Is the trash bill? Is our oh yeah. There you go. So we'll see. Now there was a story that we filed on Saturday. Was it Saturday? Yeah, it was a story that we filed on Saturday, and it was regarding a bill that the legislature discussed and moved into the voting file. Not too late for them to take it out of the voting file and to make amendments to it. Hold on, we're getting. Hi, Senator. I just want you to know before you start talking that we're live right now, and so Kandit Land can hear you. Is everything okay?
Yeah, no, we just started. That's right.
Oh, session just started? Okay, we will get on it. Thank you, Senator Tadigui. Hi. Hi, Ken.
Okay, that was Senator Terlahi, and she's going to stand against the bills.
Senator Therese Terlahi?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
She's going to stand against the bills. So, in other words, we're seeing yes.
So this is Ken Leon Grow live telling us that Senator Therese Terlahi has just told him that she is against the Dictator Acts. And session has started, apparently. I think Ken put me on hold because there is a senator that he seems to be talking to right now from outside the session hall.
I talked to Senator Barnes about her consider. I asked her to drop the bill. She said she would talk to me. And I talked to other senators and they were really. Most of the senators went that way after.
I just got a note that the senators were all told to go through the back door because of the protest. Oh, so I think I can hear Kevin Kerrigan's voice. Ken is being interviewed by Kevin Kerrigan right now. While that's going on, Vice Speaker Tulia Nelson's Bill 319, the hazard pay bill, it's in the voting file right now. It's not too late for them to yank it out of the voting file and to debate it again. And the reason I bring this up is because certain senators who we've spoken to were unaware that an amendment was made to that bill that would eliminate emergency pay, which is, and on Saturday, I filed this believing that emergency pay was only time and a half. I was wrong. Emergency pay, when I went into the Government of Guam Personnel Rules and Regulations, is actually double pay. And I should have remembered that from the time that I was over at Adelup and we were activated for emergencies and we got double pay. It just didn't occur to me. I didn't really remember it. So we're going to, oh, Johnny's here. We're going to refile that story to reflect that it's double pay, that if this bill passes, the legislature will be taking away from Government of Guam employees who are actually working the front line. And the specific, hold on, I can bring this up. You know, Cello, I'm not seeing that the legislature is live, by the way.
Did you refresh?
I did. Let me just write anything here. Oh, there it is. Son of a gun. Okay.
Colleagues, we are now on Bill 334-35 COR. At this time, I'll recognize Legislative Secretary
This is the bill.
Amanda Shelton. You are recognized.
Sutus Mossy, Madam Speaker, I move to place 334 to the bottom of today's agenda.
Oh.
On that motion, without any objection.
Oh,
There
Senator.
is a motion. Do you have an objection to that, Minority Leader?
Senator Tadigui is objecting.
Bill 334, Madam Speaker, this is, if they could read the title to this, please? Not sure.
I will go ahead and let the Legislative Secretary read the title.
Bill 334-35 COR is an act to amend section 19404 of Article 4, Chapter 19, Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, relative to enforcement of rules promulgated in an executive order relative to a declared emergency to public health or safety. Objection, Madam Speaker.
There is an objection. All those in favor of setting 334-35 COR to the bottom of the agenda signify by raising your hand.
Excuse me, Madam Speaker, I object to placing it on the floor. What do you mean, the bottom of the agenda?
Yeah, we moved to set it to the bottom of the agenda, Minority Leader.
I still object. I still object.
On the motion to place 334-35 COR to set it aside and put it at the bottom of the agenda, please signify by raising your hand. 334 at the bottom of the agenda. 1, 2, 3, 4. Senator Therese, to put it at the bottom of the agenda. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Not enough.
Huh?
They're trying to get enough votes. This is so funny.
Still not enough.
Is it up?
That's Senators Clint Ridgell and Sabina Perez are outside the session hall.
Huh? On the motion again, so that the clerk can see the hands, please signify by raising your hand to set 334-35 COR aside. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
She can't because they can't see her.
Motion carries.
She probably had an objection.
Legislative Secretary, you are still.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I'd just like to explain for our body and the viewing public the reason why we put 334 to the bottom of the agenda today is because we are waiting for some legal clarifications to move forward on that bill.
Thank you very much. Legislative Secretary,
and for that, yes, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. For that same reason, I'd also like to move 335 to the bottom of the agenda.
On that motion to move 335-35 COR to the bottom of the agenda.
May I read the title, Madam Speaker?
335 is the curfew bill.
Act to add a new item 7 and 8, section 19403 of Article 4, Chapter 19, Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, relative to the emergency powers of the governor during a public health emergency.
On that motion, are there any objections? Hearing none or seeing none, motion carries.
So they've just moved the two dictator bills to the bottom of the session agenda. There are
At this time,
like
we will
6 more bills
recognize
to
Vice
go
Speaker
over.
Nelson on Bill number 313-35 LS.
Let's see what this bill is.
What was the bill number?
313, I think, is what she said. I didn't realize they were going that far back in time.
Yeah.
But I could have gotten it wrong. So we're only able to cast to the TV, not to my screen?
Yeah, actually, I don't know why. Maybe during a recess.
During a recess?
A long recess.
It's really funny they're not calling this pause right here a recess. And the mics are still on. If you're just joining us today for, what's the name of our show?
Brace
Yourselves. This is part 4. Brace Yourselves part 1, 2, and 3 all occurred on Thursday, from Thursday morning to Thursday night. And Holy Thursday, as it were.
Madam Speaker.
And Brace
On Bill 313-35. Bill 313-35 is an act to add a new Article 4 to Division 1, Chapter 1 of Title 22 Guam Code Annotated, relative to establishing the Unemployment Benefits Act of 2020. And Madam Speaker, I just want to read some of the legal, some of our legal opinions.
Did you want to move it first?
I'd like to read the legal opinion first, Madam Speaker.
Yes, you are allowed to do so. Please proceed.
So, Madam Speaker, it was advised to us that there could be a potential conflict with the federal unemployment assistance. From the outset, we recognize that Bill 313-35 LS, as substituted by the Committee on Rules, has proposed an effective date of January 1st, 2021. The analysis that follows pertains to the law if effective on enactment. Even with a proposed delayed effective date, it is unclear what the impact of such delay will have in terms of Guam's eligibility for assistance under Public Law 116-136.
Most notably, we are unable to assess what the state of federal unemployment benefits may be in January 1st, 2021. As federal economic stimulus legislation is ongoing, regardless of the effect of a delayed enactment, we can probably anticipate the issues addressed below may be similar to issues that arise if Bill 313 is effective in the future. If made effective on enactment, Bill 313's Emergency Unemployment Benefits Assistance Supplemental Benefits Act of 2020 may render individuals ineligible for benefits under the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, also known as PUA. Provided under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act of 2020, Public Law 116-36, specifically if Bill 313's unemployment benefits creates a regular compensation benefits program, it would likely trigger outright ineligibility under the PUA program or require a person to wait until Bill 313 benefits are exhausted before applying for relief under the PUA program. In order to qualify for benefits under the PUA program, a person must be a covered individual. Among other things, a covered individual is an individual who is not eligible for regular compensation or extended benefits under state or federal law or pandemic emergency employment compensation under Section 2107, including an individual who has exhausted all rights to regular unemployment extended benefits under state or federal law or pandemic emergency unemployment compensation under Section 2107. Currently, many people on Guam are not eligible for regular compensation benefits because there is no regular compensation program under Guam law. However, Bill 313 could be construed as a regular compensation program, an unemployment program which would then render people in Guam ineligible. Correction. However, arguably, Bill 313 would be construed as a regular compensation program, i.e. an unemployment program, which would then render people in Guam eligible for regular compensation benefits under Guam law and probably ineligible under the PUA program. Under the PUA program, regular compensation means compensation payable to an individual under any state law or the unemployment compensation plan of a political subdivision of a state, and when so payable includes compensation payable pursuant to 5 U.S.C. Chapter 85, Parts 609 and 614 of the chapter, but not including extended compensation or additional compensation. So, Madam Speaker, in Bill 313 that we were going to substitute on the floor, that I would like to have substituted on the floor, we put an enactment date of 2021. And so I asked our legal counsel to review this enactment date after, to see if it would negate or somehow do any harm from receiving federal program assistance of the Unemployment Act. And so within it, it states what covered individuals are. And since Guam does not have an Unemployment Benefits Act, it doesn't have any compensation law, it does not have unemployment insurance, I asked to see if we could still move forward with the Unemployment Benefits Act. And this was also as a supplemental act, which we were going to substitute on the floor for those that were furloughed, for those that have lost hours. However, we were cautioned that it could create a conflict of Guam being able to receive federal funding under the PUA program through the CARES Act. And so, Madam Speaker, we wrote a letter to the United States Department of Labor asking them if the substituted form, which would include the supplements, would negate Guam from being able to avail to the federal funds that is already provided, that is already passed into law, that the people are waiting for due to the impact of the coronavirus. We have yet to receive word from the United States Department of Labor to see if that's going to impact our, to see if this bill would impact us receiving the PUA program. So at this time, Madam Speaker, I'd like to set this bill aside until we get more clarification from the United States Department of Labor and to be able to move forward from there, because we do not in any way want to impact the assistance through the PUA program that the federal government is giving to all states and territories. We want to ensure that our people benefits to the maximum ability that we can allow the people to benefit. And we just want to take caution to ensure that this bill does not hinder that. And so it would behoove us to put this bill set aside and to see what United States Department of Labor says, whether this bill will impact the PUA program. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Interesting development.
On the motion to set aside Bill 313-35 LS, are there any objections? Seeing none or hearing none, motion carries. Right now, colleagues, the next item on the agenda is Bill number 332-35 CR. Vice Speaker Nelson, you are still recognized.
Madam Speaker. Bill number 332-35 is an act to add a new subsection 4124 Bravo 1 of Chapter 4, Title 17, Guam Code Annotated, relative to creating an exemption from the service learning graduation requirement for 12th grade students of the school year 2019 and 2020, and requiring the Superintendent of Education Madam Speaker, I just need a minute to address the clerks. So can I just go into a quick recess? Forgive me.
I forget what number we're
We are in
on.
recess.
Is this recess 15? It is, right?
Yeah.
Let's put that up. Recess 15.
How many amendments? I forget.
Oh, we're way past amendments. Everyone take your first shot. Try not to make it tequila today. I would go with beer shots. So your blood alcohol content is only like twice the legal limit by the time session's over and not 5 times over. So Bill 313, that was the local unemployment, well, the substitute version of it would have been the Local Unemployment Benefits Act by Vice Speaker Talina Nelson. And what she was saying is that she's written to U.S. Department of Labor because of some concerns from a legal opinion. She didn't say who the legal opinion was from, though, but a legal opinion on whether this thing would come into conflict with the Federal Unemployment Benefits Provisions Act. And it was responsible for her very much to ask the legislature to hold off on entertaining this bill because of this legal opinion. But what I wonder was whether the legal opinion was responsible, because it seems that everything that the legislature wants to do to help people through local programs and not, this is setting aside the whole making sure that the administration doesn't screw up the implementation of the federal programs. But as for the local programs, the Leon Guerrero administration has been adept to scream Bloody Mary and tell the legislature to pull it back, as though it was in charge of the legislature. And as we've seen over the past couple of weeks with the Leon Guerrero administration's legal understanding of these federal programs, they have, despite Congressman Michael Stanicklis providing clear instructions and clarification to the Guam legislature and to the Leon Guerrero administration about these federal programs, the direct cash assistance and the pandemic unemployment insurance program, the administration has gone so far as to lie about those benefits and to spin its way out of, or to try to spin its way out of its lies. And so if this legal document or legal opinion came from a Democrat, I would question it. I would question it as being a stall tactic by the administration in an attempt to just claim credit for the administration of all of these programs for the people. And meanwhile, as these stall tactics happen, the only people who really suffer are those who would have enjoyed these benefits if our government acted faster. Now, we can't fault Vice Speaker Talina Nelson for that. She's just being responsible because she got this legal opinion. We don't know from whom whether it's the Attorney General, the Governor's attorney, or half-licensed attorney, or the legal counsel for the Guam legislature. We're not sure where that legal opinion came from. We'll try to find out. But that at least stalls any future for a local unemployment program. We'll see. We'll see how this all turns out. They're waiting now for a letter from the U.S. Department of Labor in response to a letter from Vice Speaker Talina Nelson on the matter. Let's see. One of the leaders of the legislature is telling me to calm down. It's too early for shots. Should I respond back? Well, careful there with the recesses.
Espresso shots.
Espresso shots? I think people will die of coffee shock.
And it's never too early for shots.
There's a Bill 327 on the agenda. I was just made aware, and it is about getting tax refunds out. I think after everything that Kandit has said about the financials of the government of Guam, not just over the past week, but over the past year and a half, that is something that we can get behind. Can you check, Chelu? Are you able to go on? There's Johnny. Are you able to go on to guamlegislature.com and see what Bill 327, who introduced Bill 327? Thank you. Hi, Chelu.
Hi, Chelu.
Morning, Fred.
Morning.
And we are just waiting for the legislature to get back from their recess number 15. I think amendments would just put Bula.
Legislature.com, right?
Yeah, guamlegislature.com.
.org.
Yeah, there's crackers on top of the fridge, I think, or inside the fridge. Whose drink is whose?
Those vitamin C is yours. One's yours, one's mine. And then I got some ice, and then Eric's ginger ale's there.
Thanks.
You have to sanitize everything that comes from the store.
Wait, I didn't brush my hair, so.
You guys don't want to see my hair. That's why I'm wearing this hat. GuamLegislature.com, Bill 327.
You know what? Under what subsection would be the legislative session?
Oh, yeah, you have to click on for the new website. Chelo, do you have your microphone on, by the way, so people understand the conversation we're having? Oh, shoot, I meant to get to the comments. Hang on.
Hang on. Oh, I love that comment. It said Timunga Barnes.
That was Richard, right?
Yeah.
Brother Jesse Mendiola says there will be a lot of freshman senators this coming election. This COVID-19 was their chance to show us where they stand and not just posture for optics, but actually stand for the people. With the exception of Jim Moylan and Therese Sirlahi, I'm pretty sure many of them will be ousted, most especially the speaker, Tina Munoz Barnes. Bill Hernandez says for our groceries to just put it out into the sun. Is that true? Is the sun?
Yes.
Did your sister say that?
Kill it. Yes,
Your sister. Okay, so Johnny's sister is a top-rated epidemiologist at what's the name of the university?
Rutgers.
At Rutgers University. Is that Ivy League? Rutgers.
Yes. And she graduated from Berkeley.
She graduated from Berkeley?
The top Summa or whatever those cum laude.
Summa cum laude?
Something, and then
Darn,
she raised the bar for the. Yeah.
And she writes in all those journals of medicine and stuff like that. Dr. Nanette.
Antoinette Stroop.
Dr. Antoinette Stroop.
And she lives in New Jersey.
You have to put on your
I am. I'm just going to.
Denise Pangilinan says, I'm sorry, but at this stage of the game, don't forget to do. At this stage of the game, we need them to focus on the bills that actually help the people of Guam. Well, actually, Bill 327 sounds like that bill. All these other bills are not important right now. They really need to get their priorities in check. What is Bill 327? Can you read the title to our viewers and who introduced it?
Did you find it, Prim?
Ismail Velez says Saddam Hussein checkpoint runs from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. in support of hooker hours. I emailed you the pictures that Jacob Nakamura sent over of the checkpoints, or I'm sorry, the road closures, whatever they're called. Whenever we're done with that bill, I mean. Sandra Rages says, yes, this crisis unfortunately brought out some true colors. Now, everyone, Ken Leon Girl has a formula for it, and so does Ray Gibson. Their formula for voting in this coming legislature, for this coming election for Guam legislature and for mayor, is if you don't recognize the name, vote for that person. No, well, I mean, because, I mean, they have a point. When it comes to math, the probability is that we're going to get better senators, is basically what they're saying.
We'll try anything right now.
But if we can do better than that, if we can get to know the names of these, or who these new candidates are for senator, that would be a lot better, because I'm starting to see some names that either I'm completely against them for senator, or I'm wondering, you know, by the way they are talking in their social media or responding to questions on the radio, they just don't sound very different from the group that we have right now. Plus, there are some members of the legislature who, personally, I will be voting to re-elect. But like J.I. Cruz, the former chief of police, no way in hell am I voting for that guy. If there was a way to vote no on a candidate, I would vote no on him. But I'm just gonna skip over his name. Jesse Mendiola says, by the way, we're getting tested today. My frontliner has displayed symptoms, so to be safe, then sorry, we're going in all around, please. Prayers all around, please. Hopefully it's just the regular flu. So Jesse and Leanne. Leanne is a nurse. She's not with public health, right?
Yes, she is.
Oh, she is with public health?
South, yeah.
She's at Southern Public Health. I thought she was like a contractor working for. Okay, so Leanne Mendiola works for Southern Public Health. She has been on the front lines since this pandemic started, and she and Jesse have been just started to have symptoms of coronavirus yesterday. I think Leanne was from 2 days ago, and then Jesse was yesterday, and so they're gonna go get tested today. So our prayers are with them that it's just a regular flu. Where are they going? Oh, no.
They're going to get tested at the public health.
Okay.
But she didn't really, she was really sick this morning. I spoke to them.
Okay.
I called her to let her know that we're praying for them, and
okay.
You know.
Brad Hewitt calls the road closures militarized zones. Well, yeah, they actually are militarized zones. Anna Sabet says, Buenas, Troy, Johnny, and Kandit crew, would you happen to know more info on emergency food stamps? When I called public health, they said they don't know when it will be released. So the governor...
They're right.
Yeah.
They're right. They've been saying people on food stamp will get extra, but we're talking about the people who have lost their jobs, who have no more money. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the holdback is. It's not like it's coming out of their own pockets, right? When it's emergency food stamps, it comes from the federal government.
Yeah, no, I know what the holdup is.
What?
It's not necessarily a it's not necessarily a delay either. It's when the governor made the request for the president to declare Guam a federal disaster area. There are two types of programs that come into play. One is the
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know.
It's a something program. Anyway, we were approved for the first one. The individual assistance program is the second one, and that's the one where, let's say, normally,
typhoon,
50,000 people are qualified for food stamps based on the 200% of federal poverty line restriction, right? I'm just throwing out numbers here. It might be 125%. It might be 200%. So let's just say it's 200%. If the federal poverty line is $34,000 for a 2-income household, then then 200%, is, what is that, $68,000. So if you make $68,000 or less for a two-person household, this is just an example, then normally on food stamps, or normally for the food stamps program,
You don't qualify.
you will qualify, as long as you make that or below, right?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing out numbers here. Now, the federal government, when FEMA's individual assistance program is activated, that threshold goes up. And so it could go up to, let's say, 300%. And so that would be, what is that, $92,000, right? So 68 plus 32 is,
Yeah.
or $102,000 or something like that. The threshold expands so that more people qualify for the food stamps.
Yeah.
And that's what happened after, I think it was Paka,
Pang
Chataan,
Songwa.
and Pongsona. But it didn't happen automatically. It did take like a month or two for the individual assistance program to come and for it to be opened up.
Okay.
I think it was faster for Pongsona because Chataan and Paka already had happened. And so there was already a recovery coordination office that had been established ever since 1997. But in this case, we haven't had that program open since 2002. So that might be the issue. According to Chuck Estevez, the Administrator of Civil Defense, it was applied for, and we're just waiting for the federal government to approve that.
Did he say when?
No, he did not give
Was
any.
it yesterday?
No, this was last week that we asked, when you first asked the question. Maybe it was
Okay.
even more than a week ago that we asked him. And now the Joint Information Center is not answering any phone calls, so we have no way of knowing.
They got caller ID.
They got, yeah, I think, no, they've always had caller ID.
Well, use my cell phone.
Oh, here, session's back.
Mina 35 na alas 8 ng Guahan is back from recess. Vice Speaker Nelson, you are still recognized on your bill.
What's that?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Bill number 332, I'd like to make a motion to move Bill number 332-35 as substituted on the floor into the third reading file and discuss it.
And to accept.
That's fine. To accept Bill number 332-35 COR as substituted on the floor into the third reading file and to discuss it.
And if you can, just for clarity's sake, read the title, Madam Vice Speaker.
Yes. Bill number 332-35 COR as substituted on the floor is an act to add a new subsection 4124 Bravo 1 to Chapter 4, Title 17 GCA relative to creating an exemption from the service learning graduation requirement for all high school students enrolled during school year 2019-20.
On that motion, are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. Vice Speaker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Bill number 332-35 COR is an act to add a new subsection 4124 Bravo 1 of Chapter 4, Title 17 Guam Code annotated relative to creating an exemption from the service learning graduation requirements of all high school students enrolled during school year 2019-2020. In accordance with Public Law 30-53 requires Guam Department of Education is required that high school students complete 75 hours of service learning in order to graduate from high school, beginning with the 9th grade class in the school year 2011 and 2012. We recognize that the service learning requirement as established requires students to actively participate in organized service activities. We also recognize that due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak, many students are unable to physically participate in these activities. Thus, it is the intent to create an exception of all high school students for the school year of 2019-2020 from the requirements set forth in Public Law 30-53. So, Madam Speaker, the original bill was submitted to exempt 12th grade students, but we also, speaking with some of my colleagues, we also realize the reality that it does impact the other grades as well. And so when we come back to the school year, next school year, we will ensure that service learning hours are continued. However, our students within the Guam Department of Education will not be penalized for the reality that we face today. And so the reality is we are under shelter in place. The schools are closed for the rest of the school year. And so we want to make sure that our seniors can still graduate, and we want to make sure that our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors can move to the next higher grade. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask my colleagues for their support. I'm sorry, Madam Speaker, just one more thing. We received a letter, a joint letter from the Office of the Superintendent, and also Guam Education Board resolution supporting these measures.
C2 Esmasi, Vice Speaker. Anyone else on the main question? On the main motion, Senator Joseph Augustine, I will recognize you, then Senator Will Castro.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to rise in support of this bill, especially the substitute, specifically the substitute, because it does recognize all grades. And I look forward and my colleagues supporting this bill and moving and passing to ensure that all the students will be able to get to the next grade and be able to graduate when it's duly time. Right. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Senator Castro, then Senator Lee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise also in support of the measure and do thank the prime author for putting it forward given these extenuating circumstances. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're very welcome. Senator Lee, you are recognized.
Madam Speaker, and Buenos and Hafa colleagues. Madam Speaker, I rise in support of Sub-Bill 332-35, and I want to thank the Oversight Chair on Education for her work to ensure that our public school system has all the tools that is needed during this very unprecedented time. You know, Madam Speaker, as a mother of a public school student myself, I got an earful about the decision to keep campuses closed for the remainder of the school year, and it's a very difficult decision for students and faculty, and I want to be clear that I support the very tough call made by our superintendent and the Board of Education. But Madam Speaker, it's also important that we as a body acknowledge the critical community service that's being provided by Team GDOE. Thousands and thousands of families in our community have had a hot meal thanks to their Grab and Go program. And I know that tens of thousands of children now have access to low
Can we turn this down because they're not going to debate anything? Can we turn this down?
Madam Speaker, ending this school year is not an excuse to end public education. So I'm so thankful and grateful to all the professionals at GDOE who are really trying their best to provide these resources.
So these senators are not going to be debating anything. This is not one of those bills that requires a whole lot of debate, and they're just, it just upsets me about the number of them who've raised their hands to speak on this, because it's all they're going to do is say how much they support it, and they're just going to commend the Department of Education for blah, 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 and that's fine. You want to commend the Department of Education, that's fine, but there are so many other bills in this agenda, and this is just a waste of time.
On my way down, I was listening to this, to us, right, or to you guys. Could you explain what it means when they say, okay, we're moving it to this file, the third read? Okay, how does that process work? Because I know a lot of people don't understand it.
Okay, so there are 3 reading files in a Guam legislature agenda: a first reading, a second reading, and a third.
So I write a bill, and then it gets turned in, and then it goes what?
And then at the next session,
okay,
right after that bill is introduced, it gets a first reading, meaning the title of the bill is read.
Okay.
And that's all a first reading is. And then in the legislatures, the way the legislature works, the Committee on Rules can, before the next session starts, adopt an agenda.
Okay.
And in that agenda, the Committee on Rules determines which bills go onto that session agenda. And sometimes in the case of this session, an emergency session called by the Speaker, there's no agenda. And so the whole Guam legislature, instead of the Committee on Rules, will then adopt an agenda at the beginning of the session. All it needs is 8 votes. And that's when bills that have not been debated yet would get onto what's called a second reading file, But sometimes, like in the case of this session, a bill that they want to get on the second reading file hasn't even had a first reading yet. So that's why at the beginning of this session, you heard all of those motions, Madam Speaker, I moved to place, blah, 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 Madam Speaker. And Talina Nelson was the one making all of the motions because traditionally the majority leader of the legislature makes all of those motions. She's the floor leader.
Okay.
Meaning she has the power to move an agenda forward.
And then she also has the power to stop it. No? Like,
No,
let's say,
she has the power to leave it out.
Joe San Augustine on the gambling bill stuff, it stopped at his committee.
Because that's the power of a committee. So the committees were left out of all of these bills because the speaker waived all of the public hearing requirements.
Okay.
And because the Committee on Rules did not have the agenda setting power in this session, it was the full legislature. This one was really driven by the speaker and
The governor.
Talina Nelson. Well, yes, the governor drove a lot, yes.
They're
but
the puppet of the governor right now.
today, I don't think so.
Okay.
Today, I think our legislature is pretty independent. We'll see. We'll see when it gets to the more controversial bills. But so the second reading file is when the legislature debates a bill. That's when the title of the bill is read again, and then the senators, whoever authors the bill, speaks first, and then they raise their hands to make motions on that bill and debate it from there. And then so like when, let's say Talina Nelson introduces a bill, she speaks on that bill first, and then let's say Telo Tadigui raises her hand first. So Telo Tadigui says, you know, I support this or I don't support this or whatever, and I make a motion to amend this certain section. And so that's when the legislature starts a debate on that motion, on that First Amendment. And then if someone wants to amend her amendment,
which they do.
Yes, it happens all the time. I move to amend the amendment, and then they have a whole debate about that. And so they have to end the debate on that amendment to the amendment and vote on that before they can get back to the main amendment by Senator Tadigui.
Okay.
And then someone else might make an amendment to the amendment.
Okay.
And then they have to end the debate on that before they go back to the main bill. And the next person who raised his or her hand wants to make a new main motion to amend. And that's why it kind of takes long. The process is deliberative, and procedurally it ends up that way. But the main focus of the author of that bill is to get their bill into the third reading file, which the bill is read again, the title, and then the senators vote on it. No debate, they just vote, and it's a roll call vote that happens. Can we turn it back on to see whether they stop debating this? This is a no-brainer bill. This is a bill that should pass unanimously.
Everyone, island-wide, and so I'd like to thank them every day, every morning. They're providing meals for our students.
Oh my God,
and
they're
for
still
our
on it.
children. Really, this is a true testament to the good work that they are doing, contributing back to the community, taking care of our children, showing that they are loved and cared for, not only within their families, but also within the community. This is our foundation of Inatha Malik. It's what our grandparents raised us on. And I'd like to thank them truly for all their hard work, for them willing to risk the safety of themselves and their families to go out there and give back to our community. So to all those that are participating, and I even believe the Sodexo employees are out there as well. And so I'd like to thank them. Madam Speaker, I'd like to make a motion at this time to add co-sponsors to the bill. I'd like to add Senator Amanda Shelton, Senator Joseph Augustine, Senator Therese Terlahi, Senator Regina Scali, Senator Kelly Marsh-Teichno, Speaker Barnes, Senator Perez Jose Pito Terlahi, Senator Camacho Torres.
Brad Hewitt says, put a pressure dressing on her heart, it's bleeding.
Senator Luis Bonamunia, Senator Telo Tadigui, in that order.
On that motion,
Did you not? I did.
on that motion, are there any objections?
You said you didn't want.
Hearing or seeing none? Motion carries.
So the
Thank
legislature
you.
today is going to vote on a bill to get rid of the service learning requirements so that this year's seniors can graduate.
332. COR into the third reading voting file.
On that motion, are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. Vice Speaker Nelson, you are recognized on Bill 339-35 COR.
339?
339?
Madam
Yes.
Speaker, I'd just like to confirm if I have a 1 minute to confirm with the clerks for the substituted version. Thank you. 1 minute of recess.
On that motion, we are in recess for what, a moment.
Where do I go to?
Recess number 16.
Where is the list of bills that?
For today's agenda?
Yeah.
Oh, I have it here. It's,
Can you send it to our WhatsApp?
yeah. So the,
Oh shoot, I forgot my phone in the car.
did we find, go ahead and get it. Did we find,
327?
because what's his name? Chirag just sent it to me. So Bill 327 is by Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes. And, Tina Munoz Barnes, Clint Rigel, and Jim Moylan. It's an act to amend Section 3 of Chapter 1 of Public Law 35-36. That's the budget law. Relative to authorizing the governor to use funds received as no, that's not the budget law, this is the war claims law. As reimbursement for the payment of war claims pursuant to Public Law 35-61 and any available resource for the purposes of quickly paying income tax refunds. Winner. This is what it does. It says the governor shall prioritize tax refund payments for A status returns for tax year 2019 and prior years in an amount no less than $125 million. Okay, that's already what's in the budget law. And then it adds, notwithstanding any other provision of law, the governor is hereby authorized to expend funds deposited into the Guam War Claims Fund as reimbursement to the government of Guam for the payment of war claims pursuant to section blah, 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 blah. That is not being expended for any government of Guam response to COVID-19, as well as any anticipated federal assistance due to COVID-19 as permissible by federal law for the payment of all outstanding Class A status error-free income tax returns. So if you caught Brace Yourselves Part 1, sorry, Yumiko is barking at Johnny because Johnny went outside to get her phone because Yumiko is not very bright. So,
Doesn't like me.
So if you were with us during Brace Yourselves Part 1 on Thursday morning, the big thing that Kandit discussed going into the session, aside from the whole Dictator Act thing, was all of these local funding bills that the legislature had on its agenda that had, oh, hold on, we're getting a call from Ken Leon Guerrero. Hi, Ken. You're on live with Johnny and I. Hi. So how's it going? How did it go?
Let you guys know that I been through the checkpoint. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's real interesting. I went to the checkpoint. They gave me their lecture pointing out that 85,000 people have died and 5 on Guam. And so I asked him, and I videotaped it, have you been tested? He said no. I said, then how do you know you're not sitting here exposing everybody you talk to the virus? Because you might have gotten it from somebody else, or you might have, and now everybody that's coming through this checkpoint is running the risk of getting infected.
Yeah, I wondered about that too, and I thought that as I've been thinking about this road closure thing, they've been placing our National Guard in harm's way by doing this.
Absolutely, because I'm like 99% sure that back in December I had it, because I was sick for 5 weeks in a way that matches every single one of the.
Oh, I remember when you were sick for a while.
And so I think it's been here for a while. I think a lot more people have been exposed to it than they're acknowledging. And just this guard, these people here at the guard unit who may have been exposed to it as well are not. They haven't been tested before they're put out on guard duty. For all we know, they could be the ones spreading it right now because they just handed me that.
So they are handing out flyers. I thought that was.
Did he spray it?
Yeah, so they're handing out flyers right here, and it's interesting that they're handing out stuff, but they're not certified. We have no certification whatsoever that they have been. Well, they told me they haven't been tested. They don't know if they have the virus or not, and here they are handing out materials, and we've all learned from watching TV that COVID virus could live on paper and paper products for 5 to 7 days.
Yeah. So I heard about that, and I thought we needed to verify because that didn't sound right. But you're telling us right now you just got this piece of paper. You've just verified that they are passing out pamphlets. That is a concern. Not just their.
They haven't been tested.
Wow.
You know.
Okay.
So now we have untested people.
Adaloop has not thought this through very well, apparently.
Yeah. Now I apologize for disappearing during our talk on 340, which I also had major concerns with, because the numbers don't add up. When you take the information from Department of Labor on the number of people working, and then you give everybody a minimum of $400, it comes up to 35 million, not 15 million. And see, this is something that would have come out if they'd had public hearings, because somebody like me, or maybe they might have got Lester Carlson or somebody else in there to look at these numbers and make sure these numbers. Is that the gavel?
No. Sorry. Johnny was just...
that says 409 guard troops have tested positive.
According to Military Times, Johnny just sent this note to me. This is regarding our previous discussion on the Guard. There are 409 Guard troops in the 34 states, 3 territories, and the District of Columbia who have tested positive for COVID-19.
Didn't we just have a contingent get back from Egypt a couple of weeks ago?
I think so, yeah.
And as I recall, one of the Army bases in Texas is infected, and don't they go through the Army base in Texas for processing before they return to their home unit?
Some of them do. Ken, the legislature's back in session. Let's catch up later. Thank you.
Bye.
Vice Speaker Nelson, you are still recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to clarify, we're going to move forward with Bill number 339-35 COR as introduced. And I believe we have an amendment to this bill as we move forward from one of our colleagues. So, Bill number 339-35 COR is an act to amend subsection 715 of Chapter 7, Title 1, Guam Code Annotated, relative to creating an exemption during school year 2019-2020 from the 900 instructional hours requirement for Guam Public Schools, as mandated by Public Law 35-77, to move it to the third reading file and to discuss.
Vice Speaker, please proceed.
Thank you. We find that Public Law 35-77 as amended of Chapter 7, Title 1 GC to require 900 hours per school year for both elementary and secondary schools. We realize that the closure of Guam's public schools due to the COVID-19 outbreak, the Guam Department of Education may be unable to provide the 900 instructional hours as required. So, Madam Speaker, we just passed this law last session, where we converted the 180 instructional days to 900 instructional hours. And so because of the impact of the coronavirus, we need to go back and provide an exemption for this school year. Our students have missed a lot of instructional hours. However, Guam Department of Education, their teachers and their staff are still working, providing online education services to the students. From my knowledge, teachers are even working with parents to pick up lessons, hard copy lessons for their child to learn at school. So education is still ongoing, even though we closed down the schools. And there's still an opportunity for the students to learn with the guidance of the teachers working with the parents. And so the parents, many of our parents are homeschooling their kids right now, sitting down, going through the lessons with them. And it's very interesting to hear some of them saying that they need to go back to school when they're trying to teach their child math, even at the 5th grade level. So it's a rather encouraging time to see our families pulling together and sitting down with their children and investing in their children and giving them the attention.
Can we turn this
that
down?
their children need and deserve.
Because this is, again, this is a no-brainer bill.
Next school year, we don't want them to be left.
I have a question.
Okay.
Did these senators watch or even read the comments on every media station that covered their session on Thursday?
I'm pretty sure. I've heard that they were intently following comments, especially on Kandit, about the recesses and the amendments.
So wait a minute. So if I'm them and I read it, I would make sure that when I get into session on Monday, the things that matter to the minorities is placed on is voted on first. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, there are no minority bills on this agenda.
No, I'm saying us as a minority.
Oh.
Because by the looks of it, the administration and this particular legislature, besides Jimmy Moylan, Therese Terlahi, Tello,
Louise, Will, Mary.
Yeah. We're not important. Minorities, they don't care about us. They really don't give
There is a bill though that's on the agenda, Bill 340 by Senator Regine Biscoli, and that's the local cash assistance program, and that really was for the low income wage earners, and even the low to middle income wage earners. It was for anyone making $40,000 a year or less who became unemployed because of the pandemic, that they would get $400.
Yeah.
And then I think it's 80,000 or less. If you're a double filer, you would get $800. So there is that bill, but Senator Regine Biscoli moved it to the back of the agenda because the governor at 1 p.m. on Thursday, while the legislature was in session, went in and said, "We don't need that. You know, all due respect to the senators, we got this under control, and we have the pandemic program that we're going to have out in 2 weeks' time." And then 2 days later, the Department of Labor is telling the people of Guam, actually, it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks. But then we don't even know whether that's true, because almost everything coming out of the administration has been a lie or has been wrong information because they're incompetent. And so there is this chance. There is one bill on the agenda by Senator Regine Biscoli that would take care of a lot of minorities on this, those who are hit the hardest by the economic realities of today. But they moved it back to the back of the agenda because the governor came in and said...
but then again, DRT is going to have to gather this list and put it together. Why not, instead of double working, why the federal one, the stimulus, if they're going to work and put a list together, why double work it?
No, it should be that's where the governor's wrong. It wouldn't have been double work. It would have been the same work. They would just yank the data from the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're I don't know.
Do you think they're incompetent or
I really
arrogant?
do. No,
or both?
I really think that they haven't talked to a real attorney. I really think that they're not listening. Michael Saniklis is guys, he is part of the committee on money back there, the finance committee.
Financial Services Committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, and then his major was finance, right? Or something like that? Economic something?
History. He's a history major. But he is a certified financial planner or manager.
That's what I'm talking about. But Michael Saniklis at this point can be anything for me, okay?
Yes.
He
can be a lesbian and you'll be a lesbian.
I will love it. I will become a lesbian. But he already has set the groundwork for them.
Yes.
I don't understand.
Not just the groundwork, the work. It was the work.
The
local government just has to implement now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really think that they're just they're in a bubble. And the governor doesn't realize how hard it is to buy groceries. We're counting our pennies because I'm pretty sure
And sanitizing the pennies.
Her stuff is brought in by her refrigerator is filled up by somebody else. And all of this talk about where's the lieutenant governor? Honestly, where is he?
Sometimes he's in those news conferences, right? Do they still do this?
He's modeling. I want that job. When you become governor, I want that job. I want a model.
I would never want to become any of this.
I want a model.
Let me Pontius Pilate my hands and wash myself of the government of Guam.
And my friend told me to be nice because it's Good Friday and Easter. I'm done being nice. I'm so glad Christ has risen and let's move forward, people.
But West Pentecost.
Hey, I know where I'm going.
So there's Bill 340, but there's also Bill 327. That's the bill that I was reading earlier, and it's not on the agenda. So I sent you the agenda, right? It's actually not on the agenda, but there is some speculation by senators that they're going to try to put that bill on the agenda, and that would be basically it would tie the governor's hands to pay tax refunds. Now, the governor would still have to take it a step further and actually pay it out, but it would lock her into a box so that the only way that she could spend so-called additional revenues in the government of Guam is if she spent it on tax refunds, which if you were with us during, I think they're in another freaking recess, by the way. You have to increase the ticker to recess 17. If you're with us on part 1 of Brace Yourself, which was on Thursday morning, we talked heavily about all of these bills, all of these local funding bills, and how, yes, they're good and great, but the question is, does the government of Guam even have money? And the answer, when we did the math on the amount of cash that should be in the government of Guam and the amount of cash that Guam is going to get from the federal government, we're going to run out of cash by June, latest, early July, to even make payroll in the government of Guam. So the senators, when they take up these funding measures, need to be talking about that a whole lot. And they don't need to bring in members of the administration to answer these questions because these are the guys who are in charge of the money, so that they should already know what the answers are. If Kandit knows what the answers are on the financials based on the documents that already exist, then our senators should very well know these answers as well. So that's Bill 327. The most responsible way to deal with the funds in the government of Guam right now and provide financial relief to people really is to pay tax refunds. And that's what Bill 327 would do. Bill 340 is the other funding bill, local funding bill that would get a local unemployment program going. It's by Senator Regine Biscoli. We'll see where that goes. Right now, senators...
So wait, so this agenda that we received,
yeah,
I know it's not in order because they're talking about the school service learning hours when there's no sense of... Let's bet. I want to bet you.
Okay.
How many bills are they going to take care of today?
Well, they've done 2 already. They're on the 3rd one.
Mm-hmm. At least the important ones.
How many more are there? I think there's only
11.
11.
There's 11.
I think 4 more.
Do you think they're going to do the trash bill?
Absolutely,
burning?
They're going to do the burning bill. Absolutely, and they're gonna debate that. They really are. Like they're debating this. This is an important bill.
Yes.
The one that they're on right now.
That's a given.
But
we can't go to school.
They even have a recess on it. Like.
They're just patting each other on the back.
And that's why we turned the thing off, is because this is a bill. It's a no-brainer, like you said.
Of course.
They need to get rid of the instructional hours requirement for public schools, so that public schools legally can close.
And my kid moves forward.
Yes.
And not backwards.
And so why there's any discussion on this, I have no idea. because this is just, it's something that needs to happen. It's not like the legislature can responsibly call students back into school.
Yeah.
And so
I would fight that all the way.
I don't know why there's even a recess. I don't know why anyone's raised their hand to talk about this unless they actually want kids to go back into public school.
You know why.
And
they need to get in the soundbite.
What's the next bill after the instructional hours bill? Is it the trash burning?
They're out of line.
It's out of order. This is a draft agenda.
Okay,
This
right
was
now-
sent to me before session started.
Okay, but they're jumping all over the place. It's not in order.
Okay. So I'll bet you the next one is the trash burning bill. They're probably just trying to dispose of all the easy stuff because it buys them time on the harder stuff. Because they're waiting for a legal opinion from blah, blah, blah about all the harder stuff to do. Are they going to actually entertain Bill 334 and 335? Or are they going to, the speaker's walking over to her office right now. Or is that to Senator, she's talking to Senator Sabina Perez. Or are they going to pull those bills from the agenda? We'll find out later today. They're in recess number 17. Let's see, I was getting notes from the legislature.
I don't know, Troy. And then we have a new dog in our house. It's a black one, and I think that Knox is not chasing her away. So you know what that is.
Oh, it's a girl?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's his.
Yeah.
The Republican Party has just released a statement today. It's titled, "It's a message to the legislature. We prefer a democracy, not a dictator." As the Guam legislature reconvenes its session today, we have a simple reminder for senators. The people of Guam prefer a democracy over a dictatorship. There's some grammar issues with this statement, but I'll just get past that. This simply...
Hey, give them a break.
No.
It's the COVID-19.
No, they're Republicans. They don't deserve a break. This simply means that any support for Bill 335 would be a support for enhancing the powers of the governor of Guam to a degree that actions of our island residents would be monitored and controlled by a police state. I'm just going to stop right there. No one knows a police state better than former Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio. And so I just find it highly disingenuous that a statement like this is coming from the Republican Party. But notwithstanding, right now we are in agreement with the Republican Party of Guam. I just had to point out the irony in a statement like this coming from the Republican Party of Guam. In summary, one would have to justify why they left their home in the morning, even if it was merely to provide for their family. And if the reason was not approved by the governor, one may face some serious consequences. Very true. This COVID-19 pandemic has created a disorganized environment that providing the executive branch more authority to conduct curfews and provide for additional controls into our daily lives would essentially be adding to a mass hysteria in our community. Further, guidance issued in a memo from Public Health on April 8th listed specifically a whole slew of essential businesses, infrastructure, and activity upon which many more people may have unintentionally been allowed onto the roadways. Oh, I don't think that was unintentional, Republicans. I think that was fully intentional. Chapter 19 of Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, provides the governor of Guam unprecedented authority, which in several cases would bypass many of Guam's laws related to procurement, finances, hiring, and even provides the ability to seize one's property and facilities. We've been saying that since 2 weeks before the pandemic started, right? Glad they recognized it. In the attempts of reducing the risks associated with the spreading of the virus, Governor Leon Guerrero invoked a state of public health emergency, hence activating the powers associated with Chapter 19. She presently has the authority to do more to help starve the coronavirus, so why are lawmakers giving her more power? Go ahead and, Chelo, and unmute it so that when they go back into session, we don't miss it. Instead of focusing on how to help our thousands of unemployed residents, curtail the crime problem which has been increasing due to our depressed economy, assisting small businesses to survive, or even demanding transparency from our governor, they are prioritizing further empowering her. This is not the same as the 1944 Japanese occupation, which was governed by a military dictator.
Yeah, after. Remember the one that became governor?
But it says Japanese occupation. Isn't that like 1941?
Yeah.
Okay. As a matter of fact, in recent months, we recognized in celebration as our World War II survivors were honored with the passage of federal legislation for war claims. Our Manamkus survived a treacherous period in our history and were freed from a monarchy of a military dictatorship regime. Why are we creating a similar form of government when our elders can share with you the issues of a police state and the rights of our residents being stripped away? We urge the Guam legislature to do what is right and defeat this proposal, and let's focus on prioritizing our people and their safety. Remember, we prefer a democracy and not a dictator.
Okay, how many
Good
senators? Joe San Augustine?
Ken Leongro did a count.
Okay.
He didn't tell me who, but he said it looks like this bill is not going to pass.
Oh, great.
Yeah, because he was at the legislature, and so hopefully those senators were being truthful with him.
Thanks, Ken. I wanted to be there. I was there in spirit.
Hold on, I'm looking at all of the messages from the legislature right now.
Grim, you want some crackers and salami and cheese?
I'm good, bro.
Are they really still on this instructional hours bill?
Yeah, they are.
What are they waiting for? You know, if I think they're waiting for legal counsel. If I were the senators in the Guam legislature, I would be pretty pissed at how slow their legal counsel is.
It's probably their cousin. Or like someone they're related to, so they can't get mad.
It's Judy Wombat's daughter.
Or whatever. Seems now.
Oh, they're on the burning bill. Son of a gun. So they did dispose of the instructional hours bill quickly. Good for them. Good for senators. We are now on the burning bill. You owe me $1.
Oh, okay. I owe you more than that.
No.
Put it on my tab.
It's just $1. I owe Johnny Girl $2,000, I think. That's her daughter. I never agreed to it, but she made me agree that I would pay her $1 for every time I cussed.
Oh, and she's counting.
Yeah. So apparently there's an agenda. We just don't have that agenda, but they are going in the order of the agenda that they actually did adopt. That's a draft, the agenda that we have.
So tell them to send it.
It's actually probably on their website. I didn't look.
I can't find it.
And so here's a note from Jason Dasuin. He's different Guam, and he's been very vocal about.
I watch.
Basically, thanks. If you have time to complain, then you have time to ask people to act or to encourage people to act. And the actions necessary really are stay home.
Yep.
Don't go to Nana's house, you know.
Especially.
Support efforts to get PPEs to our frontliners. So Jason says, sad to say that many of us just sit around waiting for decisions about relief efforts, complaining about whose fault is it when valuable time slips by. How many days has it been since we were asked to practice social distancing? Within that time, how much was spent trying to empower thyselves? I'm not knocking anyone's choices of how they spend their time indoors practicing social distancing. However, instead of being reactive, try being more proactive. There are so many jobs online that can be filled by individuals if they just use their time wisely to search for them instead of waiting and waiting and waiting. Here's just an example of what they can do to start looking beyond the reef. And he puts a YouTube link. It's actually in our comments. If you look for Jason Datuin's comments on our feed right now, you'll see that YouTube link at the bottom. You have to press see more in his comment, and then you'll see the YouTube link there. And I can't say the other things that he said because they're filled with cussing.
I love it.
Anyone want a pickled egg?
We got.
I do not want a pickled egg.
Honest?
But thanks. No, I don't. Yeah.
I got some pickled eggs from Foodies.
I'm not like I've never liked that or Rock You.
I love Rock You.
Yeah, I never liked Rock You.
I love it so much.
So they are on the trash burning bill. And I just think out of all the bills on this agenda, this is the stupidest one. It really is.
Who co-sponsored this? Let me check.
So, okay, I want to go back to Bill 327 because it's not on the agenda, but hopefully it makes it onto the agenda because this falls in line with what we've been saying about the finances of the government. There is no money to do all of these programs that the senators want to do. I mean, okay. Let me dial this back a little. There is money in the government of Guam. There is money that the government of Guam is going to get from the federal government. It's $117 million. There is money in accounts that are restricted that the legislature can unrestrict, like, for instance, child support. And that's a touchy topic for a lot of people, right? But there is money. And there are obligations that GovGuam has every single month, actually every couple of weeks, in the form of payroll, debt service, benefits, retirement fund, remittances. The function of the hospital probably is the most important right now. I don't know who's paying for the National Guard. It might be the federal government, I'm not sure. Paying the police department, the fire department, all that stuff.
Remember, the federal government just infused public health with monies, 134 million or something. The federal.
They advanced the Medicaid. They did?
No, but also to help with the testing, to help. It was just last week, Michael Siniclis.
1.3 million.
Something.
Yeah. So there was that. There is chunks of money coming from the federal government for different things to fund for the pandemic. But there are things that normally, and the GovGuam payroll is still at full force right now. Because the governor said she's not going to furlough. It's just that if the governor doesn't furlough by the time June comes around, and there are notice requirements too. You can't just furlough and like the next day the furlough happens.
Right.
There's like a 30-day notice period, and then there's like a 1 week letter period or something like that. There's a whole. It's like a 6 weeks total to actually get a furlough done. So if this doesn't happen by June, and the economy is not open by May, there's going to be a problem because there's not going to be any money. And as it stands, there just doesn't seem to be money to pay tax refunds either, except for the little 800,000 here, 1.1 million there.
I really don't like the response. We're following the law. We're paid up to date. No, you're not.
Wow.
When you file and you get your refund 3 days later, or even 3 weeks later, that's up to date.
Yeah. So the only responsible piece of legislation for a local program to get financial relief to people right away that, I mean, with integrity, we can say is something that works is a tax refund bill. It's something that ties the governor's hands so that the only thing she can do is pay tax refunds. But probably the most responsible thing, just pure fiscal management in the government of Guam speaking.
Is to furlough everybody.
It's to cut the GovGuam budget. For the legislature to do, is to cut the GovGuam budget. And the administration would have to respond by furloughing. A smart thing for the governor to do would be to furlough people in GovGuam.
So they can avail of the...
So that they can get the unemployment benefits. If you make less than this amount, that unemployment benefits are going to cover fully, furlough them. They're not going to lose any benefits. I mean, they're not going to lose
Maybe
any...
she's waiting until the DOL starts
maybe.
the application process.
Maybe. And the reason she hasn't done it is because even though she's told people that she's sure, she's really not sure.
Yeah, but then she can say, I saved you guys.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
You know what? Yeah.
I saved you.
You're right.
I'm not going to furlough you now because you're going to have nothing because our administration isn't we're incompetent. So she's waiting for that DOL, everyone else to do the work. Once that plan is implemented, she's gonna furlough the employees, the Guam employees, and say, I saved you.
Yeah. You're right. Where are your comments? Let's see.
I love it when people back her up. Oh, you're the best, Governor. Thank you so much, Governor. I don't know what you're thanking her for because nothing.
Because her talkie smelled good on their noses.
I don't know what you're thanking her for because nothing she has said since she's been doing her live whatever, nothing has pulled through. Nothing.
Lots of prayers coming in for Jesse and Leanne.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys for those prayers for them.
And if anybody knows Leanne, she is a sweetheart.
Very. And she's the boss of Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
Alicia Kenyatta is still on Facebook, Joe, because she's still using Dudas Zoot.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, sister. Ashley Tumbano asks, where do we locate this information, please? Yeah. Ashley, are you asking about the unemployment benefits? If you go to Congressman Mike Nicholas's Facebook page, he actually posts the informational pamphlets on that. I saw it this morning, and it's all there. Monica Devera says, Dala, that recess is taking too long, Hafagatsun. Monica, normally I would ask if you could drop some of that food that she made for Easter over, but social distancing. But that food looked good. Hope LG says, damn, wish I was on assistance to get double food stamps. Brad Hewitt says, President Trump declared all states a disaster area yesterday. I assume that includes the territories. So I don't know if that means that the individual assistance program has been approved.
Can somebody send that message to
Lulu Bell?
To Lulu Bell?
Richard Leon says, recess is just another ongoing excuse by these past and present sin actors. I love Richard Leon. Denise Pangolina says, exactly, Johnny. I totally am there. I have been furloughed since March 15, and my manager tells me I will need to resign before I can even apply because the CARES Act doesn't cover us.
Why?
Well, my sister got the same thing too.
Why wouldn't it cover them?
She said that in order for them to get any type of letter, certification, or whatever from their employer, they would have to resign.
That's not true. That's not true. If it's unemployed or furloughed.
And that's what I told her. But,
if they resign, they're not going to be. If they resign, they will not qualify. I'll tell you that.
Dizzy Inc.
No. If they resign.
Yes.
Oh, I see. In addition, Denise goes on. In addition, they are refusing to give me a letter stating my hours went from 78 to 0. Denise, I don't know who your employer is, but you should report them to the Department of Labor. And that goes for any of you who are getting the same kind of information. Paul Mammoth says, do you guys know how to apply for the Unemployment Act? Again, it's on Congressman Michael Nicholas's page.
It's not ready yet. Guam is not ready yet, guys.
He puts the information there on what to do. I mean, on what the whole thing is and whatever. But yes, Guam isn't even ready. Amy said you made pumpkin rolls, sister?
Oh no, actually, this is from Foodies. It's a coffee roll.
It's called a pumpkin roll.
It's a butter roll.
No, I don't.
It's butter.
It's coffee. It's delicious.
It
I
is
want to
so
eat
good.
more, but I have to share.
Clayton Hill says, getting so freaking tired of people that keep attacking all GovBomb employees. Y'all don't freaking know every single GovBomb employee's own unique set of obligations and circumstances. GovBomb employees are not at fault for this freaking pandemic just because they all chose to take a job within GovBomb. Yes, private sector employees are in fact the most adversely affected. But newsflash, many private sector employees and GovBomb employees are lovers, loved by each other, friends, couples, relatives, and even members within the same darn household. So stop this senseless BS of just attacking GovBomb workers. GovBomb lives matter too. GovBomb employees are pissed at the circus activity too. GovBomb employees are also pissed at the slow rate of speed by our elected leaders to provide immediate cash assistance, especially to private sector workers. Yes, it's not a debate. Just again, stop this stupid narrative to try and make all GovGuam workers out to be bad or undeserving of any help from our local and federal leaders. Oh, there was an audio problem. You fixed that, right, Chalu? These are messages from earlier.
Oh, that was probably me. I didn't have my mic on.
Denise Pangolina replies to Clayton saying, "Calm down, I will pray for some serenity for you." Justine Flores says...
Oh, they talked about the skinny jeans on the Ray show this morning.
Oh, really?
That was so funny.
This is J.I. Cruz, Mr. Police State himself,
Yeah.
right?
People didn't even remember
Oh,
what
thank
was
you.
on his sign. They only
It was
remember
nothing. There's nothing on his sign. It was just skinny jeans, you're right. What a rhymes with hag. Justine Flores says, what about the seniors who are nowhere near the required amount of service hours? They're just going to get a free pass? Just wondering. Yes, that was the purpose of Vice Speaker Nelson's bill, was to waive the service hours requirement for the final quarter. Or is it final quarter, or is it just waive all of it?
I don't know.
Huh, that's a good question. That's a good question, Justine. Brad Hewitt says, shut up, Joe. I guess Joe San Augustine was talking.
You know, I even wonder, like, Clint Rigel has been especially quiet these days, and it bothers me.
You mean not just in this session, but in the prior ones?
No, in every, where has he, like, what?
He's been focused on, I remember him talking about this, that he had 3 focuses, and he accomplished the first one, which was the cannabis. And then there's power rates. So he has been vocal about power rates, and I forget, do you guys remember what the 3rd focus was? And maybe that's what he's just been, all he's really been doing. And he did say that he was going to be very focused on those things and those things alone. So I don't know if that's, and I haven't been following all of the sessions. I don't even follow all of the news, to be honest with you. David Fune says, how can we continue teaching our kids at home if school supplies are not sold because they are considered non-essential? You know, David, I wanted to have a see I told you so conversation about this.
Let's do it.
So, Dennis Rodriguez, in his plan when he ran for governor, one of the things that he wanted to do in his first year in office was cut spending in GovGuam. There were a bunch of places where he wanted to cut spending, from contracts
He
to
had
personnel.
his plan all laid out.
Yeah, he had a whole laid out plan. And he wanted to dedicate $15 million to purchase either tablets or laptops for every single public school student and allow them to take those devices home. And he had a theory about this that has panned out very well in places like Maine, Alaska, different school districts throughout the country.
Here, there in
the iLearn
Academy. It's
iLearn,
wonderful. It's wonderful.
What's that other one called? There's another one.
I don't know.
I know what you're talking about. iLearn and something else.
SIFA?
And you cannot blame the education board or John Fernandez, because Guam is so behind, DOE is so behind in this because they're not given the funding. And who's responsible for giving them the funding?
The governor.
Thank you very much.
So Dennis Rodriguez had this plan that in his first year in office, he was going to dedicate, and that would have been last year if he was elected, $15 million for the purchase of tablets or laptops, whatever DOE decided to use. So that basically comes out to $500 per unit. And buying in bulk for 30,000 kids, of course you can get a really good price for these devices if you contract it out, whatever, right? So if that had happened, and John Fernandez at the time, when Dennis consulted John Fernandez about it, he said, yeah, we could roll out a plan for the integrated use of these devices, which would all but replace textbooks. Of course, they would have to come up with policies about repairs, losses, things like that. But, you know, things that best practices throughout school districts throughout the country were showing that this was the wave of the future. As a matter of fact, school districts throughout the country that have not implemented a plan like this were behind. Fast forward to today, if these kids had had those devices, we wouldn't be so concerned about them not going to school during, they
wouldn't have to pass these 2 bills that they just spent all morning on.
Yeah. Let's say that those devices got to the kids in November of last year. And they used that time between the first day in office and November to implement or to come up with a plan that they could implement for the beginning of this semester in January. From January to March, there would have been integrated or learning integrated with these devices so that by the time schools closed in March, maybe a couple of weeks later, the Department of Education could have designed something to continue the curriculum to the end of the school year, and this wouldn't have been an issue. This is just one example of how planning for the future could have avoided so many things that we're experiencing right now. Richard Leon says, does anyone see students demanding school start? All that is seen now is that GDOE never had any foresight and or planning.
I think they did.
They're just stuck with the finances.
Right.
Yeah. Brad Hewitt says, shut up, Will.
Will's not going to say anything.
No, this was from a few minutes ago. Ismael Velez says, stop voting for your cousins and your ninos and ninas. If you don't trust them with your kids, don't trust them with your rights.
True that.
Right on. Shelly Gibson says, volume down on this one. That was when Regine Lee was talking.
Regine was smart. She went extra early this morning so she doesn't get in the crosshairs of Ken Leon Guerrero and...
A senator told me that all the senators were contacted to enter the back of the building.
Yeah, but
to avoid
Ray
the protest.
said, everyone protest in the back of the building.
Brad, getting tired of the senators talking about the education bill, says, just show your support by voting for the darn thing. No need to yakety yak yak. Ria Garrido.
I wish a senator would just say, can you guys just shut up?
That's probably Pito.
Shut your suckhole.
Pito probably turns his microphone off and says, and looks around the room and says, can you guys just shut up? Just shut your mouth. Everybody's tired of hearing all of this.
Our phone is ringing.
You want to get...
Our phone is ringing. Canada News. We are actually live right now. Is there something we
Buy
can help
Bargain
you with?
Barter says so
Yes,
much
it is.
arse kissing from senators. Only three things are needed. Support, oppose,
Have a good
or
day.
amend.
They'll call
Everything
back.
okay? Okay. It's a tip.
Yes.
Jesse Mendiola replies to Shelly, "You're so awesome, Shelly." Fran Rivera, and we love you too. She says she really loves the Kandit t-shirts. Oh, I gave everyone your phone number.
Oh, I got phone calls when I went outside.
Okay, good.
My phone was ringing, and I said, actually, because of this.
No, we can mail it.
I told her that, but she says it's better if they just wait because they don't have a PayPal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I said I know I like to go against the grain, but I do not want to risk going to jail for selling a T-shirt.
Sean Mann says no dictatorship. Right on. Richard Leon says, and Guam survey conducted by F Troop says, F Troop. That's like second string or green leg.
Man, I can't open this egg thing.
Francisco Salas says, let's give an, quote, you're not forgotten to the GovGuam employees not recognized for their hard work. Stay safe and healthy, Guam.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you to all of the employees who are putting their lives on the line. Nicholas Ichihara says, bunch of animals. Half a day, Emily. Brad Hewlett says, this is all for votes in the election. Everyone is a sponsor. BS.
Mm-hmm.
Are we honestly still on recess 17? What's going on?
Break time, Nai. They need to poo-poo.
Jerry Guam says, have MSN recommend furloughs, then it will be her idea. Denise Pangilinan says, yeah, the governor is not that smart. Monkeys are smarter than her. Franklin Perez, this relief response is ripe for abuse and corruption. Brad Hewitt says, love Johnny's impression of Lou. Todd Tanaka says, she's only saving herself.
I don't think she can right at this moment.
Sandra Rages says, then push the GovBomb employees to the front of the processing of unemployment. Patricia Dueña says, no, she's not the best governor. She's actually the worst one we have. Denise Pangilinan says, thank you for my misinformation and suffering. I guess she's saying thank you to the governor. Half a day, Rods Hernandez.
Hey, buddy.
Anthony Perez says, Troy, can we trust using our credit to subscribe Netflix? Have you ever subscribed to Netflix?
Yes.
Thanks. What's credit cards?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what you use. You use the credit card. Yeah, we got Netflix.
And Netflix, they're all over the world, guys. Everybody uses them, you know.
Oh, Brad Hewitt confirms CARES Act does not cover if you self-resign.
Yeah.
So do not resign.
That's what I've been telling people.
Jesse Mignola says, from Leanne and I, we... Oh.
There we go.
Mimino 35 na alas 8 Guahan is back from recess. Senator Marsh Texno, you're recognized.
Sutuous Mossy, Madam Speaker. At this time, I'd like to set the bill aside.
On the motion to set aside Bill 331-35 COR. Is there an objection? Seeing none, motion carries.
I want to know why.
Colleagues, we are now on 333-35 COR. Senator Teresa Lai, you are recognized.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and colleagues. I'd like to move to place Bill number 333-35 COR substituted on the floor. And this is a new substitute version on our drive. You can find it as S Bill 333-35 COR TMT 41320. Bill introduced by myself, co-sponsored by Senator Sabina Perez and Senator James Moylan. It's an act relative to the rapid and transparent implementation of federal and local assistance programs related to COVID-19.
This is actually important.
Third reading file, and would like to speak on the bill, Madam Speaker.
This is a very important bill.
Move to accept the substitute version, yes.
Bill number what?
On that motion,
333.
Senator Lee, you are recognized. Senator Lee, I apologize, I can't hear.
If I could, yeah, it's in our drive, and it's been added, Bill 333-35, and at the end it says TMT 41320, that version.
Get with the program regime.
On that motion to accept, Senator Lee.
I apologize, Madam Speaker, I'm still not seeing it, so I just want to make
she
sure
needs
that
time.
everybody has it in front of them before we proceed. Thank you.
Check this out. She needs time for her people to text her so she knows what to
I have
say.
to go back to refresh in my shared drive each time to get these new updates from the clerk.
I will verify.
Madam Speaker, on the screen it shows two Word documents and 2 PDF. If the clerk can just, like she did on the previous bill, just delete the others that we don't need to see, and then it'll be easier.
Well, I'm sure the clerk is waiting for the motion to pass.
In order for us to accept, Senator, to delete that previous bill that was already uploaded, we would have to accept the motion.
Madam Speaker, there's 4 substitute bills, 2 Word documents.
I'm gonna take a moment to recess.
Oh my God. Did they mute it?
Yeah, we're on 18. This is a clerical. If I were the speaker, I would be really upset with the legislature right now. Because I'm pretty sure she doesn't want to take any of these recesses.
Oh my gosh.
So they set aside the trash burning bill. I don't know, did she just need something to do because there was no FESPAC bill, or
No, I think she got a lot of pushback on it. This is Guam.
Or maybe all her neighbors are burning trash, I mean? And she's downwind.
I don't know.
Jesse Mendiola says, from Leanne and I, we thank you for the prayers. Today at 1:30, she will be getting tested. God willing, she will come back negative and return to the front lines, caring for those that are affected. We love you all. We love you guys too.
Leanne, just rest and get better. We need you up there at the front line. So maybe you just need to take a week off. Right?
Yeah.
I think so. And I can't move over because I have something in my hand I'm not supposed to have.
Brad Hewitt says the business wants to keep the SBA money and still not hire back because the employee quits. That's really shizzy of the business owner to do that. Frank Cruz says, Troy and Johnny, did you know that when it comes to the tax refunds, the reason they would give you will be they are still paying the lawsuit from district court before they pay any 2019 tax refunds. Is that the reason that they're giving? That is not a reason. That's an excuse. And that's a bad excuse. Gov Guam got itself into this situation and needs to pay those legal fees because of how inept Gov Guam was for decades at paying tax refunds. Buenas, Carl Blas. Denise Pangilinan says, I had to educate them by sending them a screenshot of what the definition of furloughed means, in addition to explaining if I resigned, I would be eligible. Oh boy, the local government probably needs to do a better job at educating employers about what to do with this unemployment thing so that people are not getting screwed. Nicholas Ichara says, rehiring doesn't make sense. There are 0 customers at my job.
That person had a point, Troy.
Okay.
The person that said the employers want to keep the SBA loan. Remember, you only qualify for that loan or what the relief if you're keeping your employees.
Okay.
Okay? So it might be that.
Okay.
You follow the money.
Yeah.
Because what they're telling their employees, the letter, I would love to see if people can send on WhatsApp 922-6397. That's Kandit's WhatsApp. If you can send the letter from your employer so we can forward it to Michael Siniclis. I'm pretty sure he'll help with that. But also, business owners, GVB is holding a conference. I'm not sure how they're handling this, but they're supposed to be helping small business owners understand how their company can stay afloat, or they're supposed to be helping. The people at GVB is the one holding this, GHRA and GVB. They want to help everybody understand the laws and know what they can avail of. So Ray announced that on his show this morning.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Mary Rhodes, I believe is her name.
GHRA.
GHRA and GVB.
Okay, cool.
So, that person has a point. But people, please don't resign. Do not resign because you will not qualify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Laura continues and says, why is recycling not being picked up? So Guam Solid Waste at the beginning of the public health emergency said that they were going to continue trash pickup except for recycling. As to why, I don't know why. But that's what they said. And I have no idea what to tell you about where to put recycled goods.
Yeah, neither do I.
Brian Ortega says businesses will have to pay back loan if they don't retain their employees. Josefa Kaipat says recess, time to play Junkin Po and jumping back and jumping jack.
A friend of mine says this, Troy.
Oh, good. Monica Devera says, thank you, Troy, for liking my food I posted yesterday. Next time I cook like this, I will call you. Stay safe. Thank you, Monica.
I love Monica's cooking. She's always cooking good stuff.
Brad Hewitt says, the beautiful red book. Too bad Guam Democrats were too stupid and didn't vote for him in the primary. Oh, he's talking about Dennis's platform.
Can I direct a question towards Ms. Monica?
Go for it, Chung. You have your mic on, right?
Yes, I do. Monica, how's the Siniguelas doing?
Oh man, I love Siniguelas.
I love her Singuelas. I love it so much.
Shoot, and all these people posting mango posts, like, screw you guys and this coronavirus.
I will risk it, Monica.
Tony again says, campaigning through legislation, this is the pathetic attempt to get airtime because campaigning now would be political suicide. People look a lot more smarter than this. Amendment to the amendment, how about just get her done, put the people first. The people will then provide, and the results are overwhelmingly a prosperous society. Our culture is the perfect platform to host such success. Family strong. Amy Jackson says, damn, 2 hours in and only one bill done, I think. Is it? They set aside a bunch of bills. Did they only
I thought 2.
Go through one? Oh, 2?
Oh, there,
Okay.
there.
You mean, 35 na alas 8 ng buwan is back from recess. Senator Therese on the motion to accept Bill 333-35 COR as substituted. Are there any objections? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries. Senator Therese, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'd like to move that substituted bill to the third reading file, and I'd like to speak on the bill, Madam Speaker.
Please proceed, Senator Chalayi.
Thank you. Congress and the President have passed unprecedented relief packages for individuals and businesses who've been impacted by the COVID-19 global pandemic, and authorized large sums of funding to assist the government of Guam in its fight to save lives during this pandemic. The island has been sheltering in place since March 16th in order to prevent the spread of the virus. The COVID-19 pandemic on Guam has crippled numerous private sector businesses and left many employees furloughed or unemployed. The government of Guam must act swiftly to bring much-needed economic relief to the people of Guam and access the federal assistance opportunities of Public Law 116-136, also known as the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act that was passed by Congress. We've been told that the local implementation of the CARES Act is somewhat dictated by federal timelines, and I commend the staff trying to set these programs up locally. Bill 333-35 ensures accountability and ensures a rapid response from our government agencies by mandating it through statute. We incorporated changes after discussion with my colleagues and our legal counsel to ensure that we are not overstepping our authority as a co-equal branch of government to the administration and the judiciary. Substitute Bill number 333-35 does the following. It authorizes the governor to hire temporary employees or temporarily redirect existing employees to implement and expedite the federal and local programs, including processing and issuance of tax refunds. Suggests a 5-day time frame for the government of Guam to reasonably attempt to execute all necessary memorandum of understanding and memoranda of agreement with federal partners and implement the programs and to provide copies of all these agreements promptly to the legislature. It directs the Department of Revenue and Taxation to establish procedures to implement the federal cash assistance program program and restrict garnishment to child support, notwithstanding any other law, local law. Excuse me. It directs the Guam Department of Labor to create rules to implement the unemployment assistance program authorized in the CARES Act, and asks the Department of Revenue and Taxation to assist Department of Labor in collecting required information for the pandemic unemployment insurance program by requiring businesses who want to renew their business licenses to submit information needed by Department of Labor. It protects the legislative authority to appropriate funds as needed. The government of Guam is estimated to receive approximately $150 million in coronavirus relief funds. The federal treasury will be fronting this money to the states and territories by approximately April 24. Forgive me, Madam Speaker. It requires a monthly accounting and reporting of the expenditure of all COVID-19 related funds, and it mandates a semi-annual audit by the Office of Public Accountability. And I know the administration, the Department of Revenue and Taxation, and the Department of Labor have been working tirelessly to get our people the economic relief they desperately need at this point, and this is not in any way a criticism of the staff at these agencies or their efforts. This measure is intended to ensure transparency and unite the efforts by Guam's congressmen, the legislature, the governor, and the judiciary so that aid is distributed without delay. I humbly ask my colleagues to support the passage of Bill 333-35. Since Moss, Madam Speaker.
Gwen Bovetsu, Senator Therese. Anyone else on the main motion? Anyone wish to speak? Senator Sabina Perez, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of Bill 333 and thank the good author for including me as a co-sponsor. In these difficult times, we must do everything in our power to protect our healthcare workers, our first responders.
Madam Speaker?
Yes.
Forgive me, Senator Perez, we cannot hear her.
I understand. I was just going to ask if Senator Perez can come to the podium right in front of the session hall. Thank you, Senator Parrish. You may begin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this bill, and I thank the good author for allowing me to be co-sponsor. I think in these difficult times, it's necessary to protect our first responders and healthcare workers and those most vulnerable to this virus. We must also take every measure necessary to protect local businesses and provide the economic relief to our people. This means our government must provide funding in an efficient manner, must react quickly to the federal stimulus programs. And I'm really pleased and thankful that the governor and the administration has worked diligently and hard to get the stimulus funds out as quickly as possible. But while reacting swiftly, we must also not forget our responsibility. The legislature must continue to perform its duties, including the responsibility to monitor and appropriate government funds. And we must ensure that these government funds are expended in a transparent manner. I think Bill 333-35 provides a strong balance, ensuring accountability and providing necessary funding in a responsive manner. So thank you.
You're very welcome, Senator Parrish. Anyone else on the main question? Senator Mary Torres, I will recognize you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to ask the sponsor of this measure a couple questions, if she so yield.
Please state the question. Thank you.
My question is on Section 3, requiring 5 business days after enactment of this act for the government to sign all necessary MOUs and establish all necessary programs to effectuate the provisions of HR 748. The question that I have is, are we in a position now where all the guidelines, federal guidelines, have in fact been established and disseminated to the states and territories of the United States?
Thank you. Senator Therese, would you like to yield?
Sure, Madam Speaker. And no, I don't believe that all the guidelines have been instituted, and I believe that the Department of Revenue and Taxation has submitted their proposed plan and are waiting for approval any day. They're hoping this week. And I know that the Department of Labor are also waiting for certain things. The 5 days, Madam Speaker, is it's been amended in the bill to read, shall reasonably attempt to execute these memorandum. And the bigger part of this section, Madam Speaker, is that, you know, when they sign these agreements on behalf of Guam, we've asked that they submit a copy to you, Madam Speaker, promptly. and that when these are fully executed by the United States government, that those fully executed documents are also sent to us. So yeah, we ask that they do this within 5 days, if reasonably possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Treese. Senator Torres.
Yes, Madam Speaker, so then that makes sense in terms of us mandating something which arguably is a moving target. But I have a follow-up question though to, on section 6, it states that notwithstanding any other provisions of laws, any funds that may be subject to legislative authorization or appropriation for expenditure pursuant to H.R. 748 shall not be expended without the express consent of the legislature of Guahan and are not subject to transfer. My question is to the author, this appears to contemplate the use of government funds somehow in the COVID-19 relief effort. And does the author contemplate that there are matching funds, for example, that would require authorization from the legislature? Because as I understand it, the funds that we're dealing with, the federal funds that are coming to Guam in federal aid are not the funds of the local government that are typically under the purview of the Guam legislature to appropriate. So I'm just trying to understand the relevance of Section 6 to the situation at hand with regard to H.R. 748 and all the relief through the CARE Act. If she can so indulge me.
Thank you. Senator Treese.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, I will yield to that question. I thank the senator for the question. So the section provides that any funds that may be subject to legislative authorization or appropriation shall not be expended without that appropriation. And it cites the public law, the U.S. public law, of course, and that these funds would not be subject to transfer. It's unclear to me at this point whether all of the funds that are going to be sent to Guam are outside of legislative appropriation, or even whether any of them require local authorization or local matching funds. So at this point, I'm not sure, and that's why the language says any that may be subject to legislative appropriation. I understand that in our Guam Code annotated, there's a whole chapter of regarding federal funds, and that chapter says over and over that all federal funds are subject to legislative appropriation. But I'm sure that my colleague is aware that there is a case that says that grants are not, and so there are certain funds, depends on how Congress states it and how Congress gives it, that would not, so some of those federal funds would not be. So this is just trying to catch those that may be, and if we have an argument for that then of course that we reserve our right to appropriate those funds, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Torres.
Yeah, so in that vein, I understand that she's preserving the right in the event, and that, I suppose the catch-all is any MOUs and MOAs that are required to be filed with us should in fact alert us to the potential need for authorization. But as I understand the way that the CARE Act is, the likelihood of it having another tier of appropriation at the legislative level, I believe is not going to be the case in this emergency relief effort. But I understand the author's overextension in the event or the unlikely event. So thank you for the response.
Thank you, Senator Torres. Anyone else on the main motion? Anybody else? Senator Joseph Augustine, I will recognize you.
Madam Speaker, I rise in support of this bill. My colleagues, if you follow along with the bill now, after our colleagues have asked questions, you find that this bill pretty much, it's a catch-22. If there's something going on that we should know, we should be informed. Number two, if there is any expenditure or whatever money is coming, we should know how it's supposed to be spent. And number three, if there's a requirement for us to act, please advise so that we can act. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're very welcome, Senator Snodstein. Anyone else on the main? Senator Talatagui, Minority Leader, you are recognized.
CJ Swansea, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise in support, or I sit in support of this legislation. I greatly appreciate the good author of this legislation to ensure transparency and most especially accountability as such in Section 8. You know, I had the opportunity, Madam Speaker, just the other night, speaking with former Senator B.J. Cruz and now the public auditor, about, you know, transparencies and reports that need to go out. So I greatly appreciate that Section 8, the OPA shall conduct semi-annual audits of all expenditures on Guam associated with HR 748, which is now Public Law 116-36. For compliance with all applicable law, local and federal laws, and may require from agencies or the governor's information required to complete the audit. So I stand, like I said, I sit in full support of this measure and ask to be a co-sponsor of this measure as well.
On that motion, are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none. Motion carries. Anyone else on the main question? Anyone else? Senator Jim, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just what you confirmed with clerks, an amendment was issued. I'm hoping that made it. I don't see it yet on our.
Senator Mullen, you have an amendment?
Yes, Madam Speaker. And just waiting clarification from the clerk to ensure that it's on our website or on Google, please.
Madam Speaker, can we just get clarification where we can find the amendments?
It should be on. Does everybody see it? Senator Jim, you can proceed.
Where is it at? The amendments?
For our colleagues, it's SB 333 JCM FA L12P3. Does everybody have it now?
So, Madam Speaker, if I may, if you go to Shared With Me and you go under the folder FAs,
L12P3.
You click on that, and you should see it.
Yeah. Again, to my colleagues, it's SB 333 JCM FA L12P3.
Yeah.
Back to me.
Yeah, he wants me to read the comments. Wait, let me put my mic. Okay, go for it. I'm not sure what's going on over there, but I guess they're looking for a document. Troy wanted me to read the comments. Let me find. Nicole Estevez has a great point. She says if Bill 333-35 does pass and Governor has authority to hire these so-called temporary workers, who and how are they going to hire? Fix as usual. I understand to make the so-called process faster, as well as these certain individuals to have a full-time job after all of this. I guess also the part of them hiring, they're also saying to the people that are on break right now to bring them back in to do some work. So let's hope that, because they already have all these employees at home, they can use them. So that's part of the bill. But that's just my understanding, or that's what I heard. Patricia Duenas says, sorry guys, it's moving too fast. Okay, I lost that. David Camacho says, Mike SN for governor and Therese Salahi for lieutenant governor. Brad Hewitt says, good point. Francisco F. Salas, oh my gosh. Where's the money coming from? Temporary, permanent employees. You know, all of this money that's being infused from the federal government, we just really need to make sure that we spend it right and are aware of what's coming in. And that's part of this bill with Therese Terlahi is saying that they're going to be transparent and everybody, and I believe her when she says that, and especially that it's part of the bill because that's what we need is transparency. Sandra Rages replies to David, that was my thoughts too, the only ones actually working for the people. Dudas Du says she definitely won't be just a wallflower. Monica De Vera says yield, amen, then recess at lunch. Amen. Oh, there. We're back. We're back.
Senator Moran, you can proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Nico.
I am in full support of this bill 33335, but I also believe we can strengthen it some with one amendment that is being introduced. And the bill itself talks about how we are able to see on the funding side and to get that information that we seem to always struggle to get from the administration regarding funding and reporting period of reports. So the transparency is really important. But this law affects a lot more than just the financial side. So with the amendment to 333-35, I'd like to read it. I'd like to amend line 12, page 3, and that is just simply to add section 7. As it reads, any action by the governor or by the public health authority pursuant to subsection 19403, all of Article 5 and subsection 19608, all of Chapter 19, Title 10, long quote annotated, shall be reported to the legislature within 5 days of the close of each calendar month. The report shall include a clear description of the actions pursued, but not limited to any listings and or compensations for seized properties or facilities, hiring, or any action pursuant to this chapter.
Senator Jim, if I may,
yes,
can we just to that correction, are you putting it on section 6 or section 7? Because you saw section 7, but you said line 12.
Oh, okay.
So
it should be the last.
Section 7 is on line 17.
Line correction. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And if I can just kind of explain where this amendment is coming from. You know, like for example, Article 5 of Chapter 19 deals with, I mentioned the seize of properties and facilities, and along with compensation of these seizures. We as a body, we should know what facilities are taken and what the procurement contracts were issued, and was there fair compensation at the end of all this happening. Of course, we don't want to delay anything that is absolutely necessary to combat the epidemic situation, and we're not tying the hands of that, but at the end, we want to see these reports so we can understand what took place. Again, the transparency. Likewise, with subsection 19403, there's an array of emergency authorities that it's at the governor's own decision, within discussion with the federal partners. And what were these discussions, and what took place, or what didn't take place? Again, transparency. And then there's subsection 19608. It regards hiring of licensed personnel. And we know this is vital and it must be done, but who? And for the purpose of, again, just transparency. So the law, other than what this bill is now, that we're trying to do, the law itself doesn't require any reporting of the governor. And this bill has been described to us like a super bill. I'm sorry, a super law, the current law. So let's add some transparency. We want our governor to proceed as quickly as possible, but we need to have the knowledge of what all took place. And without just a little amendment here, we wouldn't know that. And it will be, as we know, a struggle to try to get information at the end. But ultimately, the bottom line is just to prioritize transparency. And I ask my colleagues for their support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Again, Senator Jim, that is, you can make the correction. Instead of line 12, it would be on line 17. Is that your intent?
I'd like to make that correction instead of line 12, Madam Speaker, line 17. Thank you.
On the amendment, does anyone wish to speak on the amendment? Anyone wishing to speak? Senator Joseph Augustine.
Madam Speaker, can the author of the amendment explain, is this COVID driven or is this a catch whatever? This bill is about COVID driven. It's about accountability of whatever funds we're going to get, wherever it's going to be spent, then we all know about it. And I'm trying to understand your amendment. Your amendment doesn't talk about COVID, and I just want to make sure that it's in line with it. If you want to do something to get the governor to start, or downtown to start accounting for what's going on, then introduce a bill for such. But don't add it into something that's talking about COVID. This is all talking about all the federal money that may come in, whatever was authorized by the CARES and everything.
Yes.
We want it to be accounted for. We want it to be transparent. If it ain't driven by COVID, then I object to any of the amendments. The bill is actually it's been quite good. I have to give them that.
Thank you, Senator. So you're posing that as a question to him. Would you like to yield, Senator Jim?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, I would like to yield. Thank you, Madam Speaker. So the amendment, and just like the bill, addresses 10 GCA, Chapter 19, and in which the governor has authorized her authority to use, and which, since this became law back in Public Law 25-173, it's never been activated. And it can be activated for several reasons, whether COVID or not COVID, whether some new disease or something else. If it's all health related, that's the object of chapter 19. And as we go through chapter 19, we see all the powers the governor has given, which I don't fault. I think it's all good, and it's an emergency situation, and we must get this done as quickly as possible. And in this case, it's COVID. But what's the next case, or the next case after that? Where is our reporting going to come from? If we don't address this now, we'll end up trying to address it later. And we see this time and time again when we try to get information out, and we're not allowed to, or it's put on the back burner, it's just not addressed. But why we're talking about being transparent with federal funds and related to Chapter 19, address the chapter as well. You know, it's just not federal fundings. What about the property seized, a business seized, for the purpose of, in this case, COVID? In the next case, who knows? But why was that business seized? What was the compensation? Was it fair and just? We're not trying to prevent the governor, whether this governor or future governor, the authority to use this chapter because it's so important. What we're just asking for is transparency. If we're going to be transparent about funding, be transparent about seizure of facilities, be transparent about discussions with our federal partners, about hiring other personnel. That's all this amendment is about. It's just transparency to whatever case that the governor now or in the future wants to use. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you, Senator San Augustine.
Madam Speaker, my colleagues.
Oh my God.
The bill is an act relative to the rapid and transparent implementation of federal and local assistance program related to COVID-19. Let's stick to the subject. If you want to add and amend another bill or another law, then introduce it and we'll entertain it then. I just like to stick with the issue and let's entertain this bill, not add any other issues to it. Thank you.
So then
anything related to the COVID, it's there. That's
Thank you very much. Anyone else on the Moylan amendment? Anyone else? So Vice Speaker Nelson, you are recognized.
Can we just, Madam Speaker, there's some colleagues that are telling me that they're still not able to see the amendment. Can we just go for a quick recess?
We're in a moment's recess.
Recess number 20. The amendment makes sense.
He's saying but we're only going to seize hospitals and whatever areas we're going to seize because of COVID. We're not he's not trying to say that this is going to go on beyond. You get what he's saying? He's saying anything that's related to this bill, because the seizures of buildings is COVID related.
Yes. Yes.
That's what he's trying to say.
No, I get it. I agree with what he's saying.
Why doesn't Joe get it?
Well, what Joe is saying is that if you look at Therese Terlahi's overall, the title of her bill and the purpose of the bill, it's about the funding for the federal funding. It's about the federal funding. So he does have a point, but nothing really stops senators from passing this amendment by Jim Moylan. I mean, it could expand the bill, sure.
He's only asking for transparency to let the public know.
Yeah. And this is so, Senator Tidegui, thank you very much for sending us the amendment. It adds a new section 7 to line 12, page 3. Any actions by the governor or the public health authority pursuant to the Emergency Health Powers Act shall be reported to the legislature within 5 days of the close of each calendar month. The report shall include a clear description of the actions pursued, but not limited to any listings and or compensation for seized properties or facilities, hiring, or other actions pursuant to this chapter.
We're not talking about anything else in this bill. We're talking about the COVID response from the federal government.
That's good stuff. So what Senator Joe San Augustine might be getting at is the legislature's own rules that prevent senators from making a bill into something or adding provisions to a bill that are not covered in the bill's title. So as far as legislative rules go, that he might have a little bit of a point there. But I mean, in a time like this, it's like, who cares? David Camacho says the only transparency we will get from the MAGA FAFA is when
And
their
isn't it
swamp is
whenever there's
drained.
an emergency, whatever, Troy, when funds are given in the emergency, whenever the governor declares an emergency, like the dengue, this one, they have to. It's the law that they have to report what they're using the money for within 5 days. That's already a law.
That's correct. What Jim Moylan wants to add is if you seized property.
Yeah.
So that the reporting on that's not in the law yet. He wants to add that to the law.
Yeah, because at the end of all of this, once Guam is back on its feet, I guarantee you there's going to be an investigation into how those beginning hotels were chosen.
Well, hopefully the U.S. attorney does pursue
Oh yeah,
investigations
yeah.
like that. Hopefully.
You guys, it's crazy.
Adrian Camacho asks, on another note, is the roadblock still before KFC and Mighty in Yalangzu?
I don't know. I don't live down there.
Oh, Brad Hewitt agrees with you. He said the U.S. attorney is going to watch that money like a hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Pierre Terrine says, your dogs barking are making my dogs bark. He says something about Regine Lee, but I have to go to the first comment on it.
Prim, yes. We got some meatloaf for lunch.
Oh, heck yeah.
Pierre Terrine says, Raging Biscotti, that's Regine Lee,
yeah,
seemed pretty quiet this morning. Adrian Camacho says, surprisingly, and then Pierre down further says, maybe Raging Biscotti is pacing herself for later. Let's see. I'm getting some messages in from the legislature. The Jim Moylan amendment was to encode that if the governor seized someone's property or issued a contract, that she would have to report it. As Chapter 19 is written now, it isn't required. Same goes for hiring of healthcare professionals and making sure contracts are transparent. Not sure why Joe Slagacine doesn't see the correlation of this with the present crisis. Or Sister Amy Jackson provided the SNAP application, so we'll put this on our website. Thank you, Amy. We'll put the SNAP application on our website.
And guys, if you're not sure, just do it anyway. You know,
the
application. If you're not sure, if you don't really know, if I were you, I would just do it anyway. It doesn't hurt to try.
We're on shot number 20, huh?
Yeah, we are.
If you guys started with tequila, I bet you're wishing you started with beer instead.
No, but no, they're not drunk since last Thursday.
Oh, well, we're 5 shots in now? Because we stopped at 14. No, we're 6 shots in now. Yep. We stopped at 14.
Yep.
Yeah, 6 shots in. Denise Pangolinan says, this is embarrassing to watch. Half of these nitwits are just showboating with their paperwork and laptops like they have it together. Well, Senator Will Castro has transferred from looking at his phone all the time to looking or working on his laptop instead. Maybe it was all those Grindr comments.
Grinder.
I haven't been on Grindr in a long time. I don't think you can use Grindr on a laptop. I think it's only phone-based, unless it's changed. I don't know. Jesse Mendiola says, how's about the clapper? Can someone clap so his lights turn on? Who's the clapper?
I don't know, but Rudy Magalenis, Troy, how come these people don't minus the amount of people recovered to the amount infected to see the curve flatten out?
Well, they do announce they do make it a point to announce how many have recovered. I think now it's 58 have recovered. So
yeah, but I just really think our administration's numbers, they're all messed up because they tried to lie to us from the get-go. So I think they're just purposely trying to confuse everybody.
Yeah, you're right. Brandy Sanchez Hall says the island will open up and people will get their jobs back before anything gets passed. Oh shoot, hold on. Can you take those comments because I forgot boiling potatoes.
Oh, we have a Manflorita.
Oh, nice. Will Castro.
Tony Uggins says, making it so accountability and transparency. It is imperative that we know what was taken, why it was taken, and what was done with what was taken. Moylan, you are absolutely right. I agree. I agree. Patricia Duenas says, I think one should learn from this to know who they're voting for and know I learned my lesson, so like them would not be back. Lori Good says, yes, every time your dogs bark, we will tell them shh because our dogs started barking. Gina, I believe the meatloaf's from 3 Squares. We'll let you know how it is. Troy is also making fried chicken. And Clayton asked you last night, who's the better cook amongst us 3?
I said it was you. But
we honestly haven't had a cook-off, but Troy does make the best pot roast.
I think I'm a good baker though. I just haven't had a chance to really bake.
Yeah. Well, Troy does cook good, really good himself. So.
Thanks, Chubba. I'm a baker. And Eric is. Oh my god.
Let me see. Oh.
Eric is saying I'm the best cook. I'm the best cook.
Not that kind of cook, Prim.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Is there rice there?
Yes, there is.
You want to make the rice there?
Okay. Make sure you put some gravy on his rice because I know that's how he likes it. You know, all of our friends, our group of friends, they were all great cooks. Like someone makes the best pulled pork.
That's me.
Does Georgine know how to cook?
Oh no. No, she makes the best cheese and what is that with the crackers? She brought it to Leanne's baby shower or wedding shower, and it was the cheese, crackers, and meat.
Oh, that's the one you can get at Costco.
Somewhere, yeah, that was the best ever.
Jesus.
All of our friends know how to cook. Vanessa, Amy.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, Johnny, you missed my Spam Kelagwin episode. We had it a couple months ago. Eric should focus on the chow. This is from 3 Squares, I believe.
What is our recess on? What
20.
What are we on? No, I mean like, what are we talking about? Oh, Jim Moylan, right?
Yes.
The Moylan Amendment?
Yes.
Is this, do you want more than this?
That's too much. That's too much. Thanks, Chelo. There's salad here.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, comes with salad.
Salad?
And I think this is like $30 or, yeah, $30 for this whole, all of this.
Rocks.
For real.
You want?
I want some gravy, yeah. Oh, perfect. That's good. Okay, wait, I'm gonna go get the Tabasco. It's right there.
I'll get it.
Thanks, Ness.
Thank you, Ness.
Thank you, Ness.
All right, let's see your comments.
Mike Gogui says, Moylan, don't give in to Joe.
Ma'am Florita says, Grinder hasn't changed, phone only still. Thank you, Ma'am Florita.
Do you want this?
Jerry Guam says, Troy Torres asked Will if Grinder works on laptops.
back from recess. There is an objection on the amendment. Senator, Minority Leader, you're recognized on the amendment.
Yeah.
Madam Speaker, there was a question I have to the author of the amendment, and maybe incorporate an amendment to that amendment. If this is the opportunity, okay. So the area that discussed on the last line where it says any listings and/or compensation for seized properties or facilities, hiring or other actions pursuant to this chapter. So what happens on not acquired, but if property was actually utilized, contracted for certain properties, because contract and seize is totally different. And if I may, just incorporate compensation for either contracted or seized properties or facilities.
Right, so before we make that amendment, Senator Moylan, would you like to yield to that question from the Minority Leader?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have no objections to the amendment.
She asked a question.
Right, we just wanted to add the contracted in addition to C's, if I understand the question correctly.
Yeah, if I may, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Okay, I tell you what, there'll be no question to it. I think that it's self-explanatory that contracted and seized are totally different. So to incorporate that is just a simple amendment, and that is to compensation for, and then right after for is contracted or seized properties or facilities. Very simple.
So say that one more time, Senator, on the line of the amendment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So right after it's the last sentence, Madam Speaker. And I guess I'll start from that sentence. The last sentence on this amendment is, the report shall include a clear description of the actions pursued, but not limited to, any listings and or compensation for, and this is the inclusion of, and then you include for contracted or, and then continue on with seized properties or facilities, hiring or other actions pursuant to this chapter.
On that amendment, to the amendment, are there any objections? There's an objection. All those in favor, or anyone else like to speak? If not, would you like to close, Senator? Or Senator Therese, I'll afford you the opportunity to speak on the Senator Tadigui's amendment. Okay, there has been an objection. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Where's Clint? He's not raising.
Motion fails.
What the hell?
Anyone else on the Moylan amendment? Senator Marsh Taitino, you are recognized.
Sutuous Masi, Madam Speaker, and dispense it to forgive me if I missed the answer to what I hope to ask, if it was proffered already. I do have a point of inquiry for the author.
Please state your question.
Yes, so I'd like to know if he got clarification from legal if this is germane, since it goes beyond the scope of the bill.
The question for the amendment is germaneness. Senator Moylan, would you like to yield?
This is so useless.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, I'd like to yield. And I have spoken to legal, and basically it's debatable. It can be considered, like many things that we've discussed, but it's not necessarily out of the ordinary. It's discussing the the current bill being introduced. Well, Madam Speaker, if I'm sorry, I don't mean to be out of order, but I think the previous question was on my amendment from the prior speaker before we went on recess. I'm not sure if I was able to address that with the good senator.
Senator, the previous amendment to your main amendment was objected, and there was a vote, and that did not make it. So we are back to your amendment as proffered.
And then I believe it was before we went on recess, before the amendment to the amendment, there was a question on, as well from Senator San Augustine, Madam Speaker. I'm not sure if I answered that.
There was an objection to, Senator San Augustine objected to your amendment. It was after you had answered, gave your presentation, Senator Cho said he objected to your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And during that recess, I did have the opportunity to discuss further with the colleagues, and I'm willing to amend my amendment at a certain point where you...
Sir, I can afford you that opportunity at your closing. So, anyone else wishing to speak on Senator Jim Moylan's? Clerk.
So Brad Hewitt says, "Shut up, Kelly." Denise Pangilinan says, "Oh God, this lady, she needs a helmet and some crayons to speak." And then Jerry Guam says, "She looks like she needs to shower."
The response from Senator Marsh Tyson, who had the floor, was that, did he inquire with legal? And the answer was, there was a conversation with legal.
That's correct, Madam Speaker, and now Senator
Tyson still has the floor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Senator Teitzno?
Mr. James Mawson for that answer. And looking again at the title, where the title is very specific, yeah, at least for my interpretation, it goes beyond, this amendment goes far beyond what's germane in the title. But Mr. James Mawson for letting me know that legal had not been able to provide a clear yes, that is germane.
Thank you, Senator Teitzno. There has been objection. Senator Mary Torres on the Moylan Amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There's a lot of concern about whether this is germane and whether this is even necessary to the spirit of the bill as introduced. I think that if you look at what 10 GCA talks about, and this amendment cites it, we're talking about emergency health powers under Chapter 19. And in Article 5, that has to do with special powers during a state of public health emergency with the management of property. In Article 1, the two sections that the author of this amendment discussed was Section 19608, which is licensing and appointment of health personnel, and Section 19403, which is the effective declaration. I think that in terms of wanting us to be transparent and report, and Article 2 of this bill has certain reporting of personnel hired, I do not think that this amendment is inconsistent. And I think if in the spirit of wanting to overextend ourselves and capture everything, including management of property, seizure of property, hiring of personnel during the state of emergency, it has a place in there. So I do not object to this. I think we're overextending ourselves, but it is not objectionable as presented, this amendment. So I would say, for the sake of being thorough, I would support it.
Thank you, Senator Torres. Anyone else on the Moylan Amendment?
Reasonable.
Senator Therese Chalahi, you were recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm a little torn on this amendment because I agree with it, right? It's asking for information really about what the actions of the governor or the public health authority are during the state of emergency. That's actually what I just heard the mayor on the radio this morning requesting. I mean, it's what the community, it's beneficial to the legislature to be very well informed. And I know that the doctors and the administration have come up with a plan, and, you know, prior to that plan, we had a pandemic plan that was established by public health. But these plans have been changing, and I think that just emphasizes for us, you know, we want to hear the changes as they are being made, so that the community can all go along with those changes. For example, there's a plan in place for how they are going to expand hospital capacity, and I would like the legislature to be briefed on that plan, and I think the community should also be briefed. And I understand too that when we're in the middle of an emergency, I know I don't want to tie the hands of the governor and require her to do all kinds of things. So the statute was pretty broad that way. I'm sorry, Madam Speaker, this thing just keeps moving around. But so I would just, whether this amendment gets passed or not, I would just like to put it on the record that I think it is helpful for the community to hear all the plans, all the actions that have taken place. We saw just, I think last Friday was when the transfer document actually came down that showed, you know, the transfers that had been made for the isolation and the other one, the quarantine and isolation hotels. That's the first time we saw those in actual writing, Madam Speaker, you know, what the amounts were going to be, and we have not seen the contracts. So I think it's reasonable that, you know, we want to see those as they're going along before we have incurred, I mean, what's reasonable? It's just to be brought along with a plan so that we can all buy into this plan. I think that's one of the reasons we're having such a real backlash, if I might say, against enforcement. And I just think that it would help us to inform them of all of our plans, of how serious these plans are, and why at every step of the way, you know, we continue to make these different actions, and that they are consistent with our overall plans. So I would just encourage that. My problem with the amendment, when I said I'm torn, is that it's saying that the governor shall report within 5 days, and for her to report every action, and then that would be ideal. I just feel like it might. I don't want it to be the reason she vetoes this bill, and I don't want it to be.
I want to raise my hand.
She says, you know, the legislature is impeding her ability to deal with this health emergency. In the health emergency statute, she's required to report transfers within 10 days. She's also, well, the public health, medical people are supposed to report also information to public health authority. So there's that type of reporting, but it's true that in this statute there isn't much reporting that's required. So in the big scheme of things, this amendment would be very, very nice. I just worry that we would make use of impeding, you know, her movement.
So?
But I would say that even if this amendment is passed, you know, she reports. That's the ideal, and that they report their actions. I think that's only reasonable, that the public would want to know what actions are being taken. And if they have some kind of administrative issue that they can't report that quickly, then, you know, I'm hoping it will not impede, Madam Speaker, at least. I don't know if that's clear, but that's the only reason why I'm torn against this amendment. It's because that 5 days for any action. And as we've known, I think they've been taking quite a few actions that we are not totally aware of. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I want to raise my hand.
You're welcome, Senator Reese. Anyone else on the Moylan amendment?
If they're doing the processing
else?
paperwork of seizing this,
If
whatever
not,
contracts, they're writing it already. Why can't they just send it over?
Have the floor.
So what's the problem?
On the amendment,
For cronies.
he spoke.
I don't get it.
If there's nobody else, Senator Moylan, would you like to close?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate all my colleagues' recommendations and discussion on the amendment. And I would like to with that consideration, I'd like to amend my amendment to point out the things that my colleagues have discussed. First, and we're drafting the changes for the amendment. First, I would like this amendment to be specifically, as discussed, COVID-related. Specifically COVID-related as one of the points that were addressed during this discussion of the amendment. So amending it to include COVID-related.
Senator Jim, on what line, can you just give me the line after what word?
Okay.
Just to be, in order here.
We can add it in as the last sentence to the original amendment.
I will allow that amendment, that this amendment will, can you just restate it again? After the word chapter, period, close quote.
As addressed for COVID-19 related emergency situation. Madam Speaker. Okay.
Lord help us.
And you can allow legal to make the
Lord help
necessary.
us.
Thank you,
Lord
Madam Speaker.
help us, Lord.
And,
On that motion, is there an objection? Senator Therese?
I just wanted to use this opportunity to maybe rephrase a little bit about what I said earlier. I think it was maybe not that very clear, but I support the amendment to narrow it down to be this COVID-related, this one emergency that we are under right now, to require reporting. I still have the concern that, requiring her to report everything within 5 days, and we're saying every action is just a little broad, so it's going to, she might argue it impedes, but I'm hoping she takes it in good faith and that it's reasonable.
So,
but, wait, Madam Speaker, yeah, it's just because, as a legislature, at least I'll speak for myself, my committee on health, we've had a very hard time. Because of the situation, we are unable to call these people down here for oversight hearings, to lay out the plans, which is what we would normally do. We wouldn't ask for reports, we would call them down and just make them report. But we're unable to do that, and I'm very hesitant to impede their work. I'm trying so hard not to impede anything that they are doing. Even when I ask questions, I try to limit, once a day maybe. I mean, I'm really very much trying to not impede what they are doing or interfere, because I very much realize this is an emergency, and that is the reason why they've been given these authorities. And I'm,
why are they making
to
this
exercise oversight authority,
harder
but it's difficult.
than
so
it is?
In the absence of that,
Here's the contract.
Reporting becomes very much more important.
Here you go. This is what we're doing.
But that's fine. At least we know and we can follow.
I don't get it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Speaker Nelson, Senator Lee.
So, Madam Speaker, if I may ask a question to the proffer of the amendment.
State your question.
I don't get it.
Do you believe whether the governor, the executive branch is given this requirement through law, would change in any way, the legislature would change in any way the actions that she would be doing?
Yes. Yes.
Vice Speaker.
Say yes.
Okay, because there's a lot of double talk here, Madam Speaker. This is a good amendment, but we don't want to impact what our response to this crisis is. And so I'm asking the proffer of the amendment if us including this provision in the current bill will impact our actions in any way. Would it have any weight in how we respond?
Yes.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. Senator Moreland, would you like to use the Vice Speaker's question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, I would like to yield to the Vice Speaker's question. Will this amendment cause difficulty for our governor to carry forth her actions in?
No, let me rephrase my question.
I will allow you to restate the question.
Okay. I don't want to say if this amendment will do anything because this amendment will require us to hear the plans. Will require the governor, will require the executive branch to lay the plans out before us, to report to us within 5 calendar days of the closing month of each month. And so we all know that to do this data collection, to do this analysis, to do this reporting takes a lot of time.
No, just send the contracts over.
So we don't want to take away time from the executive branch to respond to the needs of our community, to respond to the needs of what is the impact of, to respond to the needs of the impact of this virus. We don't want to take time away from them. And so I'm asking that if this amendment will be a trigger point for the legislature to come and tell the governor or the executive branch, no, stop what you're doing. Do we even have that within our power? Or to please proceed? You see what I'm saying, Madam Speaker? Because this is a good amendment. It provides transparency. But there's people, some of us maybe, that it's a political amendment too. So if people vote for this amendment, we're saying we don't want transparency, but we're trying to make it very clear that we want transparency, but is this really an amendment that we should be proffering now? Or is this an amendment that we should do later on once everything has settled? Because we have yet to reach the apex of the coronavirus. And so now things are unfolding. We have lost some people in our families already to this virus.
Shut up,
and what are we doing taking away time more from the executive branch for the reporting measure?
There's no
if
taking
the reporting
away.
measure can be done at a later time.
Too late.
Vice Speaker, I'm just going to take a moment's recess.
Okay.
Lucky number 21.
Okay, my issue. Contracts are going to be made with this hotel, that hotel, this building.
Yeah.
Why not just send the contract over? Why is it going to take time from the administration?
It won't.
So why are they making this harder than it is?
Maybe the governor sent a text message.
You guys are, that is blind. You are being led by the blind. You are, I don't know.
Pierre Terrine says, such a long process. Pito is going to worry about who is watching the PO boxes in Georgia. Vanessa Navarro says, Callan, you gotta rhymes with thick in your mouth. Jose Martinez says, thank you, Senator Selena, for being honest that your conflict is that you'll make the governor mad at you. Denise Pangilinan says, your hand gestures are not going to get your point across. Brad Hewitt says, shut up, Selena.
The meatloaf was delicious. Thumbs up to 3 squares.
Nicholas Ichihara, right before the recess was called, says, I smell a recess coming. Good call. Jose Martinez says, yes, Troy, the governor has indeed sent messages. Quote, this is my island, Selena. This is my island, Selena. Jerry Guam agrees with you, Cello. It says, trying to usurp the GSA process.
And she is right. This is political. You guys are political.
Ashley Timbato says, Denise Pangilinan has been saying this for 3 days now. Blind leading the blind. Patricia Dueña says, hey, Troy, I recently had a stroke. I do not have COVID-19 like they say. I do stay in my home because I can't drive anymore. That is the only thing wrong with me. And if I shall pass, I told my kids better not say it's because COVID-19 or don't give them at all to do an SAS, kids. Well, Patricia, you know what? You stay strong, and we're gonna pray for you.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry about the struggle that you're having. Brianna Varango says, you know how other countries are reporting their recovered cases are still testing positive? Is the governor having her medical personnel look into this? Are our recovered persons being retested also? You know, we would love to ask that question in the Joint Information Center, Brianna. It's a very good question. It's just that the Joint Information Center doesn't answer our phone calls. Because, yeah, well, anyway. You know, Selena Nelson, and I don't know who else, because the other senators are not speaking up about this, but we'll see it in their votes if it comes to a vote on the Jimmy Moylan amendment, it's a refrain that we're hearing more and more from administration people. It's, we're really busy right now. We are risking our lives for everyone. Say thank you to us instead.
Can you do it in the voice?
And don't complain.
So people can hear it?
Which voice though?
Luliang girl. Si Lulu Bell.
People.
Go on, Troy.
People, this is serious. This is serious times.
And you're making it harder for me.
I am trying to save all of your, I am the hero. I'm trying to save all of your lives. And all we are hearing is complain, complain, complain. And if we're gonna complain about everything, you know, I cannot save your lives. And I thought about that because I heard, because it's not just the governor. It's also many of her cabinet members. I've seen their posts and stuff, her supporters in the legislature who are making this fuss out of people who are not happy with what the governor has been doing and are being critical of her actions. And so their solution for the people who are critical of the governor's actions are just stay home
and shut them up.
Just isolate, and you won't have this problem.
Right.
So, okay, the solution to not spreading the virus really is to stay home. They're right about that. But they're wrong to tell us not to be critical of the governor's decisions, because if it weren't for the governor's stupid decisions
indecisions
and indecision at the start of this thing, when no one was being critical of her, everyone was saying
we were waiting on her lip. What is that? We were waiting on her tooth and limb.
I don't know.
Or
I don't know cliches.
we were at the mercy of her in the beginning of this pandemic.
We were supportive of her.
Very supportive. Yes, very.
And that was our mistake from the beginning, was to not be critical where we thought we should have been critical of the governor's actions. And look at all of the errors that she made that led us to this point where now she has the audacity to tell us that it is our fault for this situation happening. When she was inviting people from Korea at the height of the Korean crisis of COVID-19 over to Guam.
Jose Martinez says, come to Guam. We have layers of defense.
We have layers of defense. Exactly.
And Lieutenant Governor, you were right behind her, buddy. So you're with her.
They were side to side
in
that commercial. And it wasn't just to Korea. It was also to Japan,
everywhere.
The Philippines, Taiwan. It was to all of our major markets. And so, oh, darn. They're back from recess. We'll come back to that point.
You know, every time they're on, my own watch keeps telling me to breathe.
is back from recess. Senator Jim, would you like to yield to the question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to yield to the question, but also to end the questioning, I wish to withdraw.
Oh, he gave in.
No, I think it's the amendment to the amendment.
The amendment to the amendment.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or
not the full amendment.
On the initial amendment that was made, Madam Speaker.
Oh, he's withdrawing.
Oh my God. Message him.
Motion to withdraw
Message
the
him.
amendment to the Moylan amendment. Are there any objections?
Oh, wait. No, I'm not sure.
If no objection, motion carries. And then motion to withdraw the main amendment. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none. Motion carries. It's 12:25 right now.
Lunch.
Vice Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to make a motion to recess till 2:30 this afternoon, 14:30 hours.
We are in recess till 2:30.
So the legislature is taking their lunch recess. Right now, they're on one of the most important bills on the agenda, and that is the Therese Terlahi bill that will require the Leon Guerrero administration to kick it into high gear to get you your direct cash assistance and your pandemic unemployment insurance benefits. That's the weekly paychecks from the federal government. All of this is about the federal money, and I believe this is the only bill on the agenda that does this. And this bill happened after a first conference call between senators and Congressman Mike St. Nicholas. And it was something where there was a collaboration that happened. As you heard from most of the senators, that they are supportive of this bill. Now, Jim Moylan introduced an amendment that he just withdrew that would have required the Leandro administration to be transparent about its contracts during this whole pandemic thing, its spending of money, and its seizure of private property, and would require that by the fifth day of every month, during this pandemic, they would report. And Johnny's right, the report is just as simple as turning over the documents that they already have. It would not have required anything more
Extra
than that.
work.
No.
They don't need to know. I don't know.
Maybe they would write a cover letter that is one paragraph
Said,
long.
hey, here's the information that's needed.
Yeah,
Thanks.
That's really all it
Shoot.
is. And it would come from the governor's legal counsel. But, I guess maybe some things are too difficult for that guy since he doesn't have a full license to practice law on Guam.
I
But
agree.
Going back to this whole notion about members of the administration and some of their cronies in the legislature getting louder about how people are criticizing the governor, and just let the governor do her job, and the frontliners and they're talking about themselves. They're not even talking about the police and the guard and the healthcare workers.
Oh,
they're talking
God.
about themselves as the frontliners.
Look at my eyes.
They're the virtue signaling, right? When they take pictures of themselves and they with their mask and how they're working on the front lines, and they're like, we're risking our lives because we love all of you. Enough with the virtue signaling. That is your job. Your job, because you raised your hand and said, I want to be part of this administration. Part of your job is to lead the emergency response effort. And so, yes, thank you for your service, of course. Secondly, we are here at Kandit are advocating for you to get your double pay. So, maybe thank us too for helping with that situation. But third and most importantly is, don't you tell us not to be critical of bad decisions. Don't you tell people that their opinions about how things have not been handled well don't matter just because your boss is in the middle of trying to fix the mess that she created for the rest of us. Maybe the reason that things might be getting a little better is because people started being critical, and it pressured and forced all of you to do something about it and listen to what people were saying. Maybe it's because more ideas came from other people throughout the community that you were able to adopt and adapt into this whole emergency response, that things may have gotten a little better. And maybe if you actually listen fully to the criticism coming from all corners of this island about how things should be run, we wouldn't have been in this situation in the first place. And if you start to listen now, maybe things won't be as bad as your doctors say it will be in 5 months. So don't get all virtuous and self-righteous about criticism coming from people, because it is symbolic of the attitude of this administration when they asked for more power for the governor to be a dictator. That meant no one questioned the governor. No one questioned her administration. The fact that you are getting on social media and saying, stop questioning the governor, stop questioning us because we're just trying to do our jobs. The fact that you guys are saying this is indicative of what you think of this island and her people.
And you work for us, homies. We do not work for you.
Ginin as Zeus talked. Amen. Well, at 2:30 Candid News, is there anything else that you wanted to add before
No, just thank you, everybody. A couple of our friends who are on the front lines over at GMH and other healthcare facilities have to go self-isolate away from their families. So I just want to send out prayers to them. All the people, more of our frontliners, the real frontliners, are having to get tested.
Yeah. And I hope they're getting tested.
They are. They're sent to public health or AMC or any of the tier 2 clinics. Get tested. Don't wait. Everybody I know is staying home. But other than that, thank you to the schools for feeding the children. I was reading that the church Camelin Caradot, effective today, can no longer feed the homeless. Yeah.
Is it because they're like gathering? In
I
one
don't
place or
know.
something, or
I'm not
delivering?
sure.
Maybe we can try to find out.
I'm
a
not
little
sure,
bit
but
about
I
that.
feel bad for the homeless people. Hopefully, because right now, that who's feeding our frontliners and the homeless, I believe,
Grab and
are
go.
no are the small businesses. So I know that a lot of them, because they're not making money, and the little that they are making, they're still gonna have to pay their taxes, right? But they're the ones that are making the most sacrifice.
Yeah.
And these are people that really these are the little people.
And they're suffering right now.
Yeah.
And they're paying their employees while they're suffering.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want to let the employers know, if you are trying to tell your workers that they need to resign, you need to stop. That needs to stop, because we're coming after you.
And hopefully the U.S. attorney too.
Mm-hmm. Because that is fraud.
I would have never thought that Johnny and I would be on the same side as
the U.S. attorney. Yeah. Yeah. You can add. Yes.
Booyah.
I just want to add, and this is more of a question for you, for Troy, Johnny, and Carlos. Can I get an unemployment certification?
Correct. Thank you. Correct.
No. None of that funny business going on around here. We are working.
This makes me mad. Phil Cruz says I was bashed for speaking the truth. I know what he's talking about. He's talking about those trolls and those administration people who are actually using their real names. But most of them are trolls from the
fake
administration,
names. Yeah.
fake names or whatever, who are bashing people who are criticizing the administration. This is...
Well, come here. We won't bash you.
Yeah,
you
tell
are
us.
welcome here on
You
Kandit.
tell us who's bashing you, we will bash them harder.
We welcome you here at Kandit. You have a voice here. Yeah, there's a lot of people bashing us, but we really don't care. We honestly don't care.
I feed off of that kind of thing. I love it so much. Like if I notice, like I don't notice most of it, but if I come across it, like it's like I turn into the devil, and it's like my playtime, to just go straight to the heart.
I know. I love it.
I'll find out everything about that person, and I'll just use it gets bad, and then I have to pray to Jesus to forgive me.
But yes, thank you all the frontliners. Thank you everybody who's helped. You can complain all you want. Just stay home, okay? But Kandit, you do have a voice on Kandit.
And just tell us who's bashing you, and we'll go there if we have time. But that's just so indicative of this administration, to not want to be criticized and to use this pandemic and this emergency as an excuse to not be criticized, when this is the time to criticize them constructively.
Show us.
Because the decisions that they need to make need to be good decisions, because the decisions that they have made have been bad decisions.
And the decisions that need to be made were supposed to be made yesterday.
Amen. Ginin as Zeus Tata.
I'm Troy. I'm Johnny Rosario.
And I'm Troy Torres.
For Kandit News, Eric.
We'll see you at 2:30.